Caleb. If I can go ahead and have the assembly come to their seats, please. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. This is a regular assembly meeting for Tuesday, April 7th, 2026. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
I will. Michael Bowles.
Here.
Stephanie Nowers.
Here.
Dee McKee.
Yep.
Maxwell Sumner.
Present.
Bill Gamble, are you on the phone? He should be calling in, Madam Mayor. Dimitri Ponoff.
Okay.
Here.
Ron Bernier.
Present.
Madam Mayor, you do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. The first item, is there anything that any of the members would like to pull from the consent agenda? Yes.
I would.
Okay,
Hold on.
okay, we'll give you a minute.
26-027. What?
Do you, you're going to have to say that again, please. I couldn't hear you.
26-027.
AM resolution?
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a second. It's under consent agenda and resolution 26027. Yep.
Gotcha, thank you.
Alrighty. And the next one is, wait a minute, 26-028. And 26-032. And I think that's it. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have? Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
AM 26-032.
Yep, I did that.
Anybody else have anything? Oh, okay.
Madam Mayor,
Mayor, this is Assemblymember Gamble. I'm online.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you, sir. Assemblyperson Bowles, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to remove ordinance 26-027 under unfinished business from the agenda.
Okay. She could tap.
Isn't that the one that I just did?
No, it's ordinance now.
Okay, anything else for anybody else?
Do we need to ask if there's any objection, Madam Mayor? That was a motion to remove an ordinance.
Okay. Is there any objection to removing that ordinance?
I think I would object. I was hoping we might be able to dispense with that tonight, even though there's introductions there. So I'll object to removing that.
Okay. So we do have an objection. Madam Clerk?
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote on the removal of ordinance 26027 from the agenda that's under unfinished business.
So a yes vote pulls it?
I'm sorry?
So a yes vote pulls it from the agenda?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Assemblymember Bernier, are you trying to figure out which one it is?
No, I'm just trying to get logged on.
Oh, gotcha. Can I get you to vote on pulling 06027 from the, or 26027? Assemblymember Gamble,
Yes.
Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember McKee and Nowers opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Very similar ordinance. Cleaner.
Are there any changes to,
It's his ordinance.
I guess we did more than just a consent agenda, but I'll go ahead and ask, are there any other changes to the agenda? Okay,
Well, yeah, that's what we got.
Assemblyperson McKee, would you turn off your mic, please? Assemblyperson McKee, will you turn off your mic, please, unless you wanted to speak? Okay, thank you. Okay, so hearing, Assemblyperson Fauna, go ahead.
On the reconsideration, is that, can it also stay with original? I mean, what is the procedure for this one as it sits currently? On the reconsiderations, my question is, as it sits now, will we vote on it to open it, or is this something that can also, if we pull it over now from the agenda, will it stay with original date of the?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If it's pulled off the agenda, it will stay with the original July 21st public hearing date.
Yeah, and I'd like to do that.
Sorry, no, I need to have a vote on that to pull it, since it's an ordinance, I would need a vote to pull that since it is an ordinance off the agenda.
Are you asking Assemblymember?
I'm
Ronoff
asking
to-
you.
I'm sorry, okay. What did you ask me? Apparently I can't hear people tonight. I apologize.
It's okay. I understood he wanted to pull that from the agenda. And the last ordinance that we just pulled, I had to ask if there was any
Correct.
objection. So I
Correct.
need to ask if
You
there's
do.
any.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Sorry,
okay,
Madam Mayor.
good.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so we do have an objection regarding pulling that reconsideration.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote on pulling the motion to reconsider the public hearing date of ordinance 26036 off of the agenda. Correct.
Only for today.
Assemblymember Gamble,
Yes.
Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember Nowers opposed.
Okay. Okay, are there any other changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then the agenda has been approved by pulling and removing. And so, okay, we'll all stand, please. Deputy Mayor, can I ask you to lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Assemblyperson Sumner, I want to thank you from 2 weeks ago when we had our last assembly meeting, that you called me when I was interrupting an assembly person, and that was right, and I want to thank you for that. And Assemblyperson Bowles, I interrupted you when you had the floor, and I want to ask your forgiveness for doing that.
Absolutely, and I extend the same to you and Assemblywoman Nowers. I think we were getting tired that evening, so yes, if you'll forgive me as well, I do apologize for if I was a bit rude as well, so.
Okay, thank you. The next item is the minutes of our preceding meeting. Was a joint meeting that was held on March 10th of 26. Are there any changes to those minutes that were presented? Okay, I don't see any, then they're approved as presented. The next item is reports and correspondence. We have a number of agency reports. Can't say I don't see anybody from the city, but I don't think we have a report from the city. So, okay. But I do see, school board. Okay, great, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the Assembly, Mr. Brown. I'll be brief tonight. First, just thank the Assembly both for your service and also for the engagement of the last month, as we've talked a lot about schools. I know a number of you have also visited several of our school facilities. That's always welcome. So if I can ever help support in arranging those visits, please don't hesitate. We love having you see what's going on in schools. I also wanted to just provide a few updates on things that are going on. The school district is working through a curriculum review process right now for 6 to 12 grades social studies curriculum. There's information on the district website, but we're soliciting feedback from families and parents, so interested individuals can check out our website and respond to that information. Tomorrow is Alaska Construction Career Day at the fairgrounds, which is always a fun event. And then we have an upcoming school board meeting on April 15th. Just a reminder that that meeting is going to be held at Willow Elementary. It will still be live streamed, so individuals who plan to attend in person, just note the change of location, but you can still watch on our Facebook page. And then finally, May 6th, we have a regular school board meeting that begins at 5. And I mention that because that is the meeting each year where we are celebrating hundreds of students and their accomplishments throughout the year, be it a celebration of academic achievement or in their various other activities, be it music, athletics, drama, and a whole host of other activities. So if you're planning to attend one board meeting or watch one board meeting, that's the one to watch as we celebrate really an incredible group of students across the district. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your service.
Katie, could you
Yeah.
just leave the mic?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you,
Assemblyperson.
Katie. On the school closures, I've been thinking about that a lot and trying to find a way to keep those, my preference, to keep those schools open for this year and give the community some breathing room to figure that out. And one idea I've heard that is like we have a school selection process for how we pick land and everything. We could have a school closure process where a group is formed and comes together to look at this issue if we can buy some breathing room. But I was curious if that is something the school district already does or has done in the past, and if it could be done.
Through the chair to member Nowers, the school district has not had to close a school since I think Squentna, which I was a student at the time. I couldn't tell you when that was. I think it was in the late 90s. So we have not had a process, mostly because we have not had a need to really consider this in the past. I might be cautious about that. The decision for consolidation's a little different than, say, the consideration for where a new school might be constructed, but I certainly think it would be possible and something the board could consider as well.
And would it be something the assembly would request from the school board, or just something the school board could do on their own, or both of those things, I guess, as I say it out loud?
Through the chair, I I don't think it would necessarily require assembly action. I think the school board could do it on its own. I do know we have a joint meeting on Monday where of the finance subcommittee, and that might be something we could talk about on Monday to gauge the interest of both bodies, or at least the representatives that are there, and what a process might look like.
Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
Yeah, the 3 schools that are being considered for closure, is that a package deal, or can you like close 1 and not 2, or 2 and not 1, or how are you approaching that?
Through the chair to member McKee, or through the mayor, I'm sorry, I'm going back in my school board vernacular. Through the mayor, technically speaking, it could be any combination. The administration's recommendation was for all 3, but there is not a state law or requirement that it has to be all 3.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And Todd, we will now have a report from the state of Alaska. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Assembly members, staff, and constituents. Manager Brown. I'm Todd Smolden from the Matsu Governor's Office. I wanted to start by saying what a stark contrast to our neighbors to the south, that the mayor would start off with an apology. So it is an election day down there, so I don't know, maybe things will change after today. We'll see. But thank you, Mayor. It was a great example for all of us. I wanted to also just thank you, the Matsu Borough Assembly, Matsu School Board, the cities, in your approach to fiscal responsibility right now during this time in our state. From my day job, I get to observe different boroughs, different cities, different leaders, and kind of look at how they advocate for their communities. And I have to say that you set an example that really the whole state could follow, in that you recognize the situation that the state is in fiscally. And while oil is $120 a barrel today, we know that is not going to last. And so for people to be budgeting based on $120 a barrel is probably not very wise. So what I appreciate is that the Matsu is looking for ways to use funds responsibly, and also looking at ways to grow our own economy, and stop relying on the state, which has fewer and fewer resources, to pay for things that we desire, to pay for government services that we desire. And that's very mature fiscally. And so I appreciate that. I know the governor does as well. Real briefly, part of the reason why I wanted to be here is that at the joint school board and assembly meeting at the school district, there was an assembly member that reached out to me via text and wanted to, I guess, ask me questions. And that wasn't the time to do that, because it was public testimony only. And so I wanted to be here tonight to see if anybody had any questions about kind of the governor's perspective on school funding, any legislation like SB 277, anything like that. I will say that from my experience as a teacher for 24 years, and then also working on education issues for the governor, I probably can answer some questions, and in having conversations with him, I might be able to provide you some guidance. One of the things I have noticed is just this statewide trend of decreases in enrollment in brick and mortar schools, and even in a district like ours where the enrollment numbers are staying pretty solid. What you still notice is more enrollment in correspondence, more enrollment in hybrid programs, and less enrollment in brick and mortar. So that's a trend that is not only occurring in the state of Alaska, but also nationally. Yeah, I just wanted to be here in case anybody had any questions, education related, education funding related. I guess one last point. One of the things that I heard Superintendent Trainee say a couple of times was that the choice that the district provides costs the district money. And I think that a better way to describe that is that when parents don't choose brick and mortar schools, the district receives less revenue. But that's because of our funding formula. That's not really the fault of the parent or the student or a result of choice. It's our funding formula is set up to maximize revenue for brick and mortar students. And the governor has proposed legislation to change that, but the legislature has not passed it. With that, I guess if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Assemblyperson Bowles, did you have?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Smolden. I appreciate the time to ask questions and the information that you provided. You brought up SB 277. As you know, our school board has approved, I think unanimously, a resolution against SB 277. We on the Assembly discussed and approved legislative priorities that SB 277 is in direct conflict with. And I am moving a resolution today to support our school board, which is almost word for word the same resolution the school board moved forward. That being said, I am curious what the governor's stance is on SB 277. And, I think it's a good idea that our governor from the Valley, an educator, that we support our school board and that we stand united as a conservative front on this issue. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Go ahead, sir.
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Bowles. So I would say that while there are a couple of good things in 277, most of it is kind of contrary, I guess, to what it appears that this community supports. It reduces choice in terms of correspondence, but also because of the proposed increase in administrative costs for charter schools, it actually makes it more difficult to operate a charter school, and also in the future potentially apply for and create a new charter school. So there is an increase in the BSA, which I'm sure that some members of the school board probably would support. I'm not sure if that's really something that the state can handle moving forward in terms of increased funding with the BSA increase last time. I always have to be cautious to say whether or not the governor supports something, but I would say that in conversations I've had with him in its initial form, he does not support it, mostly because of the impact that it would have on school choice for parents.
Assemblyperson Nowers, go ahead.
Big concern for us is school bond debt reimbursement. And the state last year wasn't able to fund that to the full amount, and the borough, of course, had to make up that difference, and it hurts our ability to fund other things. What does Todd Smolden's crystal ball say about this year's school bond debt reimbursement? Do you think it will get the full amount here, and would the governor support that if the legislature does?
Through the mayor, I appreciate your question for a couple of different reasons, actually. There's been a little bit of misinformation that has spread in the community about school bond debt reimbursement, and I don't think it came about for nefarious reasons. I think it was just a misunderstanding, but the governor didn't veto school bond debt reimbursement last year. What ended up happening is the legislature actually decreased the funding for school bond debt reimbursement. And so, so that's the reason for the impact on it last year. At least the year before, and I want to say maybe the 2 years before, the governor funded school bond debt reimbursement and did not veto it. So if I were to, I don't really have a crystal ball, but I think the governor recognizes the difficulty that school districts are in right now financially. And I think that he is fine with where funding is now. And so, yeah, I don't anticipate a veto of any kind of school bond debt reimbursement.
It's just a quick follow-up. I didn't mean to imply that I thought the governor had shorted the money in the past or would. I knew it was a legislative cut last year, but just wanted to see what your crystal ball said about the legislature, and then just confirm that if they did fully fund it, that the governor was on board with fully funding school bond debt reimbursement.
Yeah, through the mayor, I didn't think you implied that, but I wanted to mention it because I did talk to one school board member who had told me that the governor had vetoed it, and so I just wanted to make sure that was clear. So that's partially why I appreciated your question. You gave me an opportunity.
Assemblyperson McKee, question?
Yeah, there are a couple of really bad things going on in the world today. One of them is the war in Iran, and the other one is the school bus strikes. Both of them have a silver lining. Oil's up to, what is it, 120? Is that what it is right now? I think it is. And so there's that, and we know that's not going to go on forever. And then there's the school strike, which, as I understand, it's $100,000 a day when the buses aren't running. Is that right? Yeah. So the silver lining is maybe the deficit for the school won't be so huge as it would had those awful things not been in place. So I guess I'm looking at the bright side. Is anybody thinking about that in as far as funding is concerned, or they're just going to put it on and say, well, it's, I don't know, we can't count on it?
Well, through the mayor to Assemblymember McKee, whenever the price of oil goes up, especially in an election year, yes, legislators are looking to spend money.
Yeah, you bet.
But from the governor's perspective, he doesn't feel like spending money based on oil prices that are clearly not long-term will be a good idea. So I do not anticipate that there will be large increases that survive the governor's veto pin. Whether or not legislature overrides potential vetoes, that's going to be up to them. But I don't anticipate that the governor will pass or sign a budget that is not fiscally responsible and based on oil prices that are jacked up because of Middle East conflict.
And as far as the school bus strike, it was $5 million last time we went through this, that the district was able to give back. Does the state look at something like that? Does it make a difference on anything that they do? Because it's in the bag, that amount of money. It's still accruing.
Go ahead.
Through the mayor to Katie, I think they are saving some money right now. Yeah. But for a person, as a constituent who has a 16-year-old in school, the bus strike is not worth it. To me, I don't know about the rest of the people who are dealing with it, but to me, it's not really worth it.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir, for coming. I think that's all the questions. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Mayor. And I'm going to head home. I have some responsibilities at home. So, but please reach out anyone if you ever have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. And I did get application today for the fire service. So we'll help you with your quorum problem. Thank you. All righty. We have a report, right, Casey? The last smile there or something, huh?
Madam Mayor, members of the Assembly, and Manager Brown, my name's Casey Ressler. I'm the President and CEO of the Mat-Su Convention and Visitors Bureau. Every 6 months, I can give you an agency update, and so I want to just bring you up to speed on what we're doing to promote the entire Mat-Su Borough for tourism and economic development through tourism. So it has been incredibly busy. I think we went 4 weeks without everybody being in the office at the same time because people were on the road. So in the travel trade, so that's tour operators and travel agents, travel advisors. We attended the ABA Marketplace event. We had 30 one-on-one appointments with tour operators, and these operators bring hundreds of people each operator. So we highlight everything there is to do in the Mat-Su, help them develop new itineraries, and showcase new products. The Amazing Alaska Experience, this is the second year that the Alaska Travel Industry Association has hosted this. They bring 27 high-producing Alaska travel agents, or travel agents that produce a lot for Alaska, to Alaska. So we hosted them in destination with familiarization tours, as well as had 2 days of appointments with them. And again, they produce quite a bit, and they have multiple clients. So on the travel trade, or on the travel media side of things, we've hosted 4 travel writers. They were focused on skiing, agriculture, family travel, and then just the general destination. And one of those, Kit Bernardi, has already published a story on USA Today's online version about small family farming in the Mat-Su. National consumer shows. So these are shows at like a convention center where the general public comes in and they're planning their trips. There's destinations represented from really around the world at these. We had booths at the Seattle Travel and Adventure Show, the Los Angeles Travel and Adventure Show, and then the Seattle or Alaska Cruise and Travel Show in Seattle. So many people come up and say, hey, I know somebody who lives in Alaska. Do you know them? And odds are sometimes we do know them, which is kind of funny. But those shows are important. I mean, in total, there was about 50,000 people that attended those 3 shows. So it was a good opportunity. We had about 25 member participation that had sent their rack cards and their information with us. So we represent them. About 35% of our visitors we know are from Alaska, but from outside of the borough. So that's a very important market for us as well. We've already done the Alaska Summer Showcase, which was in Anchorage. And next weekend, we'll be here at the Mat-Su Outdoorsman Show, which is followed up by the Fairbanks Outdoor Show. And again, we'll be passing out visitor guides and information about what there is to see and do in the Mat-Su. And on the heels of that, we'll start our in-state campaign in late May, which is about a 4-week advertising campaign. Most of it is digital with a little bit of online video in there. And that'll be highlighting or geo-targeting Anchorage and Fairbanks markets to get them to come here and play. I mentioned the visitor guide. I dropped a copy of for each one of you. We published 75,000 copies of that. Research shows people still want a printed visitor guide, which surprises me sometimes, but we go through them every year. We get through all of them. And how that's distributed, 3,000 of them are mailed to high-producing travel agents again, and that's through the Alaska Travel Industry Association. 30,000 of them are from direct requests to the state website. And then about 10,000 of them are requested from us directly or Visit Anchorage or Explore Fairbanks, our partners in marketing. And then the rest are distributed around Alaska at high traffic places like visitor centers and train depots, airports, and that kind of thing. So that's how we're out there. What we're doing in the office is completely redoing our website, which is a pretty big project. We've been working on that since January, and that is one of our largest marketing investments. That should launch in mid-May, and it takes advantage of the latest technology, a lot of AI for trip generation, itineraries, that kind of thing. The thing I'm probably the most excited to talk to you about is the Gateway Visitor Center. It's hard to believe that 19 years ago this idea started, and it's actually going to happen. Substantial completion is on Monday, so that's when the building will be complete, but that is also when the installation of the displays and exhibits start. So best guess is we'll be open to the public right around the 1st of June. But we are super excited to welcome visitors from around the world. And not only that, but also our friends and neighbors, and turn that into a very valuable community asset. About this time in the year, I always get asked what the summer outlook is. So I would say cautiously optimistic is the phrase to use. Last year, the bed tax generated $2.3 million in revenue for the Mat-Su Borough. We're kind of pacing like that. In the first 3 months of the year, short-term rentals accounted for $3.6 million in revenue. That's not bed tax, that's just total revenue. And that was up 22% from the same 3 months last year. Of course, they are the lowest 3 months, but that's a good indicator. Looking at pacing, so that pacing is rooms that have already been booked at this point for the future. So that, I'm not saying we're going to be up all these numbers, but at this point compared to last year, we're up 16% in rooms booked in May, 23% in June, and 25% in July. So that's a pretty healthy indicator that there's some demand for the summer. Statewide, there's a big increase in airlift to Anchorage, which obviously benefits us. There'll be 8 daily direct flights from Denver that weren't there last year. And Southwest, American, Alaska, United, Delta, and WestJet have all increased their air capacity to Anchorage International Airport seasonally. So those are very strong indicators. For the cruise industry, last year there was 437,000 cruisers who came across the Gulf of Alaska. So those are the people that will do a land portion that includes the Matsu. And this year, there's a projected 15% increase in those numbers because the ships are coming are bigger, and there's one more that is doing that cross-Gulf itinerary. So why do I say cautious when all the indicators are? I just booked a trip to Portland that was $700 for airfare. And so that's one thing that we definitely keep our eye on is the incredible rise in airfare costs. And are people at this stage going to say, this is too expensive, we'll do it next year? So while we have those healthy indicators, we are still kind of looking at it a little bit cautiously. Another thing that makes it seem a little cautious in forecasting is the TSA issues that everybody has seen, in the news. Every time you hear anything about travel and tourism, it's waiting in line for 6 hours or 7 hours or not getting through TSA. So we're hoping that those two things can mitigate here in the next couple of months and be looking forward to a very busy season. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Casey, what are the top 2 international travelers? It used to be Japan and Germany years ago. What is it now?
Through the mayor, it's German-speaking Europe and Australia.
Oh, Australia. Wow.
Yeah, Japan used to be the number 1, and they had direct flights that were charter flights from JAL. And I would say about 10 years ago, JAL, they went through a strike with their pilots, and that route got cut. And then unfortunately, it just has never come back.
Wow. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Casey. The next item on our agenda is committee reports, and I understand there has not been school issues or a school board meeting, but there is one this next week. That's what Katie had said, so thank you, Katie, for that. Are there any public relations reports by the Assembly? Yes, Assemblyperson Fauna, go ahead.
Katie mentioned it briefly. I want to say I ended up going to several schools and had a good experience. Thank you, Katie, for helping me navigate through that process. I learned a lot about it. It was nice to see and meet a lot of teachers, students, and I did go during the school time, so it was a lot of interactions with kids, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other public relations reports? Okay. Mr. Manager, no report. Okay. Mr. Attorney? No? Okay. Madam Clerk?
The clerk's report is in your red folder with the upcoming meetings and also Thursday's agenda is attached to the clerk's report. Don't forget, it's 10 a.m.
Thursday morning. We all got a date, ladies and gentlemen. The next item on our agenda is citizens and other correspondence. Are there any comments on any of the citizens or other correspondence? Okay, seeing none, then they are noted. The next ones are some IMs, Madam Clerk.
IM 26063, reporting the conclusion of contract for bid number 25108B with CGC Services for a final contract amount of $293,372.71 for the Palmer High School boiler upgrades. And IM 26064, informing the Assembly of the submittal of a funding request to the Denali Commission in the amount of $200,000 to support a Port McKenzie master plan update.
Are there any comments on the IMs? Okay, then hearing none, they are presented. Next item is audience participation, and we do have a sign-up sheet. And as always, we will hear from the people that have signed up, and then we will open it up to questions and comments from anybody else that is here. So, Dawson White, okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. My name is Dawson White. The Matsu Borough has been breaking the law since 2011 by not following AS 2945110 regarding full and true value of property assessments. The borough has only held homeowners to this bar, not raw landowners. While the everyday homeowner has been getting tax increases each year, raw land parcels have been getting tax cuts from 2019 to 2025. Parcels currently owned by 6 out of 7 of the assembly members saw those exact tax cuts from 2024 to 2025. This year I filed a formal appeal with the borough regarding my parcel assessment. I had a private fee appraisal done on my parcel last year that included my land and improvements. The assessment from the borough had my land valued 1/3 of market value and improvements way over market value. A borough assessor recently called me regarding my formal appeal, and I asked him, "Did you fix my land valuation by bringing it up to market value?" They replied, "No, Mr. White, that would cause too great of an inequity between you and your neighbors." This precise problem is what homeowners in the borough have been up against without knowing it since 2011. Because the borough has not been following the law regarding assessments, they have been stealing money in the form of excess property taxes from homeowners. The mill rate would drop through the floor if the borough followed the law regarding assessments for raw landowners, thus easing the tax burden for homeowners. On March 3rd, 2026, the borough changed the code to align with state law regarding the Board of Equalization. The new code reads, "The Board of Equalization may not raise the assessment in the current year unless requested to do so by the appellant." However, this letter I received dated March 16th, along with 400-something other letters you guys sent out, say if the valuation is found to be too low, the board may raise the assessment. I even checked the code on the borough website today, and it was incorrect. Why are you so blatantly breaking the law again? Why are you intentionally or unintentionally scaring people into thinking their assessments could be raised, even when against borough code? I have been accused by members of the Assembly of defamation, slander, political libel, and spreading misinformation. Everything that I have presented is factual and can be found on the borough and state website. You guys are the ones spreading misinformation. Please approve and conduct a third-party forensic audit of everything Matsu Borough, starting with the assessment office. Thank you.
Thank you. And Raleigh Laws. Okay.
Good evening, Assembly members and Madam Mayor. If you don't know me by now, my name is Riley, and I'm a behavioral and educational support specialist at Meadow Lakes Elementary. I know you've heard a lot of testimonies about school closures, and I know you were tired because I sure am. But just bear with me for a moment because what I have to say is not theoretical. The reality is, if Meadow Lakes closes, some of our students will disappear from our schools. Not all of them, but enough of them, enough that it should stop us in our tracks. We serve a high population of low-income, high-risk students at Meadow Lakes whose families are already doing everything they can just to get them to school each day. These are families without reliable transportation, parents who work multiple jobs, households where mornings are already incredibly tough. Right now, Meadow Lakes is close enough, it's accessible enough, and it's consistent enough for these families to make school possible for their students. When you move a school like us further away, when bus rides get longer and pickups get earlier and drop-offs get later, we're not just adding inconvenience, we're creating a barrier in education. For some families, that barrier is going to be simply too high. That means more missed days, more missed weeks, and eventually students not attending school at all. And it's not because they don't matter and the families don't care, it's because we made it too hard to access equitable choice education. Those children are who need us most right now. Those are those students who rely on school for food, for stability, for safety, and for one consistent adult who knows their name, their story, and how to help them regulate, learn, and feel like they belong somewhere. Meadow Lakes is not just a school, it's an anchor in our community. In an area that is spread out, where resources are limited and where families don't have easy access to alternatives, our building is a lifeline for them. If we close Meadow Lakes, we're not just moving these students, we're pulling that lifeline out from underneath them. Data shows that once a child disconnects from schools, especially at a young age, it's incredibly hard to bring them back. This is how cycles start, and it's how our futures change. So I'm asking you to please do the right thing. I know it's not the easiest thing, believe me, and I know it's definitely not convenient, but it is the right thing for the future of our valley, for families who depend on us, and for the staff and students who don't get a say in this decision, but will live with it every single day. Please fund our schools and keep Meadow Lakes open, because once we lose these kids, we don't just lose them from our classrooms, we risk losing them from our future. Additionally, in case you didn't receive it in your email, I would like to formally invite you all to our Title I event on Thursday. It's Camp Read a Lot, and we're really excited about it, and we would love to see you there. So thank you for your time.
Terry Grinder?
Good evening, Assembly members, Madam Mayor. My name is Tori Genter. I'm one of the after-school programs coaches for Meadow Lakes. I started flag football last year with the kids. It was my first year coaching, but blast. So kind of just giving you an outlook as far as what I do individually there. Not only that, do I spend a lot of the time that I have there with those kids in particular, but I also oftentimes show up every week to the school and hang out with those kids for a little bit, just even going into the classroom saying hi or whatever, and trying to form a connection with the kids. And when I tell you that every single student, even if they don't know me, even if they weren't on my team or whatever, they always have a blast seeing me. And I personally would be really heartbroken not seeing those kids every time that I came there, and meeting new students that come up to me. I had, I think, maybe a kindergartner, preschooler that was just like, hi, came up and hugged me. Never seen that kid before, but I loved it. And there are just way too many good students, good parents, and even better teachers over there that if you break up these schools, they're not going to have the same experience. I was grateful enough, and I didn't have to move around a lot. I never had, to face school closures when I was in school. However, if I did, I probably would have had much more of a struggle than I did growing up. I'm not above begging, so please consider other options. I think it's really super important that we keep these schools together, keep the staff together, and obviously, especially the students. There's a lot of kids out there that are already having a really hard time making it to school, making solid decisions when they're at school. And that's one of the reasons that people like my wife, who you just heard from, and the special education teachers, have the job that they do. So it's really, really important that we keep these schools open and keep them together so that those kids can thrive and be with the people that they've been with for years now, that maybe their only positive experience during the day. There's just way too many good things that are coming from these schools. And so again, also I encourage you to keep coming out to these schools, keep interacting with the teachers and the students, and just see really what kind of a community is there. That was it. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Carol and Walter?
My name is Carol Walter. Good evening, Mayor DeVries.
Can I get you to pull the mic down?
Is that better?
That's
I'm
better.
sorry. Okay. My name is Carol Walter. Good evening, Mayor DeVries and Assembly members. I have lived in the Mat-Su Borough over 60 years, and I find the introduction and adoption of Ordinance 2620 regarding the establishment of an exemption to weight restrictions on borough roads an affront to the residents of this borough. These restrictions were put in place to protect the infrastructure of our road systems, which are easily compromised in the spring because of breakup. The subdivision roads that much of this equipment will use in order to avoid the state roads are not built for this kind of traffic. Many of these roads are now covered in serious potholes without heavy equipment. You haven't even been on them. The property owners have paid for these roads, many times sacrificing to pay their taxes. You, this governing body, was elected to protect our interests. I do not comprehend why you would vote such an ordinance into place at the detriment of our roads and our people. In Section A of Ordinance 2620, the manager is authorized to restrict the use of or close any road, street, or other public way maintained by the borough, including this maintained through service areas, whenever the manager considers such closures or restrictions of use necessary for the protection of the public or the protection of the road or street during storms, flood, thawing conditions, or during construction or maintenance operations. I feel it's imperative to protect these roads from this type of abuse. Please protect the taxpayers of this amazing borough from the extensive costs associated with repairing these roads after this heavy equipment has been put on them. I hope that you will take the time to act now, not in several weeks from now, but now, when the thawing conditions are happening now. Please ask the manager to authorize restrictions on these roads now, with no permits to circumvent the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Roxy Simmons?
Good evening. My name is Roxy Simmons. Thank you, Assembly members, for the time and effort you are putting into these incredibly difficult decisions. These conversations have real consequences for real families. I want to speak clearly about what many in this community are seeing. We're being told we must close 3 neighborhood schools due to financial constraints. At the same time, we continue to support and expand multiple schools of choice, such as homeschool, hybrid, middle college, and other charter style options, because we are told this is what the community wants, but we cannot have it both ways. Maintaining this level of choice is expensive. If the community wants these options, they must be fully funded. If the funding is not there, those choices cannot come at the expense of brick and mortar schools. Right now, that is exactly what is happening. We are not trimming around the edges. We are closing neighborhood schools that serve the majority of students and provide stability, services, and daily support families rely on. So this is no longer just about budget, it is about priorities. Are we prioritizing a wide menu of options or a strong, sustainable public school system that can serve all students? Because when maintaining multiple system leads to closing neighborhood schools, that is not balance, it's a trade-off. I also want to echo the need for a 3 to 5 year plan. If 3 schools are closing now, what comes next? Without that clarity, these decisions feel reactive and families and staff are left wondering if their school is next. We also need to look at what is happening right now. Some examples. A local charter school has 350 students on a wait list. At the same time, an elementary brick and mortar school denied over 50 boundary exempt students that we can verify, with the true number likely higher, after a teaching position was cut and some classrooms reached as high as 30 students. So we have wait lists, turned away students, and fewer teachers. That is not a system with excess capacity, it is a system under strain. And combining schools will only stretch it further. And our community is growing. The Matanuska-Susitna borough had about 107,000 people in 2020 and is projected to reach 146,000 by 2050. That growth does include children. Closing schools now while our population is increasing raises serious concerns about long-term planning. Once a school is closed, it is not easily reopened. The impact ripples through students, families, and entire neighborhoods. I understand these are not just borough assembly decisions, they require alignment and leadership from both the assembly and our school board. I urge you to align funding, priorities, and long-term planning in a way that protects the core of our public school system, because choice should never come at the cost of access. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Harrison?
Good evening, Mayor DeVries, Assembly members. I am Dr. Lisa Harrison, a family medicine physician, a business owner, and a property taxpayer. The taxes I and others pay should go towards developing safe and usable roads, including for all, including our kids, grandkids, elderly, as well as for the education of our kids. Currently, the roads in my neighborhood are non-compliant with borough standards, endangering all of us who use that road. Instead of planning for long-term for the entire community, it appears that short-term financial gains that benefit a contractor who doesn't live in the neighborhood are more important. I am here today because my road has been made unsafe. A contractor removed the shoulders, which are required by MSB regulations. They replaced our wide, shallow, drivable ditches with steep, narrow trenches that leave no room for a driver to recover. Not only is this a risk for bodily harm, it is a risk to damage to cars and school buses. I have personally experienced and witnessed the effects that have been caused by the change in the construction of my road. I know the devastating consequences of avoidable so-called accidents. Mindy, one of my friends, lost her daughter, Jordan, when a car hit Jordan when she was walking her bike across a street. Jordan was adorable and a responsible 10-year-old. I know this, otherwise I would not have allowed her to babysit my 3-month-old daughter. Despite her helmet, the surgery to relieve the pressure on her brain was too severe. Mindy held Jordan for a couple of hours until she finally passed. My neighborhood is courting this exact type of disaster now. Families cannot safely walk or ride bicycles because of a dangerous 3-foot by 3-foot deep ditch, essentially tank traps left along our roads. A car or school bus could easily end up flipped. Just this January, I saw a small SUV with its rear in the ditch and its front tires suspended in the air. A couple weeks ago, I saw a minivan that had been sideswiped because the lack of shoulders left no room to avoid a head-on collision. My reports of these unsafe conditions have been repeatedly ignored. In 2019, when these dangerous non-compliant modifications were forced upon us without a prior notification as is required, my neighbors and I demanded a meeting. We were advised by former Assembly member George McKee, the roads are for cars only. When residential
Can you wrap
roads,
it up, please? Your time's up.
I have 30 seconds. When residential roads are exclusively designed for cars and eliminate safe shoulders, you're forcing children to walk against fast-moving traffic. I want to ask who decides who the road is for? Is it the people who live on the road in Wasilla?
I have to ask you to wrap it up, please. You're over time.
Or the Assembly member who lives about 10 miles away in Palmer? Mayor DeVries, you have deliberately passed over my active application on the
Please
vacancy
wrap it
report
up.
since February 3rd. Each time you have done this, you have prevented a local property taxpayer from having a voice in the
Please wrap it
decision
up.
who gets you to use the road that we actively pay for, allowing someone without a vested interest making that decision. Thank you.
Okay, Gary. What is that? Do you see? Oh, here he comes. Good. Thank you.
Gary Wolski.
Thank you, sir. And I know you've been here before, so.
Madam
it's
Mayor,
good to see you
Assembly.
again.
Yeah, I'm getting used to this. I'm getting better. I brought notes this time. Katie, there won't be enough students in the Glacier View School to be open, whether it's a budget cut or not. The principal's retiring, the teachers are moving, which are taking other kids. There might be 5 kids available. But the choice for the homeschooling is pretty good out there. There's 47. At the last community council meeting, it was brought up a whole lot of topics, and they ended up I'm no longer president. I got voted out. That's good. But now I'm the chair of the Community Center Hope. Because the question is, the school closes, now what? The school has been the Sheep Mountain polling place. We got elections this year, so that'll be a question for the borough. It's a designated emergency shelter. It's got the storage of the emergency brush fire fighting equipment, storage of emergency food and medical supplies, use the gym for community sports and indoor exercise, Glacier View Community Council meetings, the annual health fair, training for CERT, CPR, and other MSB state workshops, community functions such as holiday fairs, picnics, highway cleanup, and other social connections. So during our first meeting of hoping to turn it into a community center, and we don't know what all details that we had our first meeting. Other functions that could be located at the facility, possibly a healthcare or medical doctor's office, because there's a gal that is planning in 2 years to open an office out there. A public library, expanding the existing school library, possibly a charter USPS facility. That's I doubt that'll happen, but we have Chickaloon and Sutton. There is at least one local business that's offering to rent some of the building, and I personally know that person. There's a good lab, maker lab in it with laser cutting on 3D printer that the community council has supplied to the school, and a good wood shop for continuing some of the education. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Butch? More? Go ahead and start.
Madam Mayor, Assembly members, Borough staff, my name is Butch Moore. I want to make clear I'm not arguing or complaining about property taxes I pay. It's the process. So I have a history here. Borough's tax assessor has a history of over-inflating the taxes on my property. These are 4 fourplexes outside the city limits of Wasilla. 2017, they went up 138,000, and after the Board of Equalization meeting, they dropped them down 95,600. 2018, they went up 63,000, and after appealing to the tax assessor's office, they dropped them back down. 2025, last year, they added me to a class number 6 when there's only 5 classes for the multifamily, the way they calculate it. And they also added 17 and 5% to each one of my buildings on top of the higher classification. That raised my taxes $612,600. After working with the assessor's office, some assembly members, and the manager, it was reduced $653,000, which was $40,000 less than the year before. So anticipating what might come this year, I went and applied for a loan at a mortgage company. I got an appraisal. Not an appraiser that I chose, but one that went through the lottery, through the mortgage company. And the appraisal came in. I already had my appeal forms filled out based on what I would be paying for these fourplexes if I were to buy one. And under current market conditions, if somebody were to buy one of these fourplexes, they'd actually have a negative cash flow, even at the appraised value. So I've done multiple public records requests. I had to request 5 times on the same item. I had to ask the manager for help to get those. I turned in some record requests on the 20th of last month. Still don't have them. I did get a response I saw on my phone from Tiffany that said my updated or renewed records requests are with legal right now. They're reviewing them. Those records requests are important for my appeal at the Board of Equalization, but I did have a meeting with the manager and tax assessor and provided my appraisal. There are 4 different buildings, they're all a little different. I got an email back yesterday from our assessor, and he said that after careful consideration, I have identified differences in the property, but the Board of Equalization places significant weight on independent fee appraisals. So now, if my appraisal that I paid $1,375 for is not recognized, I need to go buy 3 more appraisals so that I have actual current market value. And based on what the tax assessor said in the meeting before the tax cards were sent out, we strive to be at fair market value minus 5% plus or minus. So I'm asking the assembly to direct the manager to provide the public records request, the documents I've asked for, and ask the manager to direct the tax assessor to take a look at this again, because
You have to wrap it up, sir. You're well over
here,
time.
no property owner here in the borough should have to get a appraisal, apply for a loan, and then have it totally discarded and be thrown to the Board of Equalization.
Wrap it up, please, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Daniel Potter.
Good evening. I'm Daniel Potter. I live in District 1, RSA 19, but funny enough, I'm not here to talk about District 1. I'm tracking you pulled this from the agenda, but I rearranged my schedule to be here so you get to hear it. About a year ago, I was here with photographs of how terrible the roads were in RSA 19. And I did public records requests for the work logs, and there were discrepancies on the work they said that was reported and the photographic evidence I had of road conditions. I presented this all to Public Works. I took it to the RSA Road Supervisors Board. I brought it here and I showed you all the pictures. They gave us a new contractor. However, AM number 26032 shows that same contractor being recommended for a $1.186 million contract for RSA 27. So based on the maps, that's going to be parts of districts 4, 5, and 7. So this is more for y'all. I have photographic evidence and the borough records requests of improper road maintenance from this contractor. Also in the memo, it says this contractor is a responsible bidder. And if you look at Borough Code 38230, the reason they use that wording is because that statute says the purchasing officer shall determine whether a bidder is qualified, responsive, and responsible based on the skill and experience demonstrated by the bidder in performance of contracts of a similar nature to the bidder's record of honesty and integrity. Well, when you have work logs that don't match the road conditions and one day of work for an entire month and get $14,000 from the borough, to me, that's not proper performance of contracts. And I have a purchasing director, a public works director who's well aware of that contractor because I have emails with him about that contractor's poor performance that signed this action memo. And it's funny that when I show up, it was quickly removed from the agenda. I have proof that this contractor didn't do the work that they put on their work logs. So it's your fiduciary duty, if that's even a thing anymore, to stop giving $1.186 million to a contractor who has proven that they don't follow the road maintenance contracts. So if you live in those districts and your road maintenance is poor after this, you know why. I also still have the proof. If you want it, you can reach out.
Thank you. Okay, Mary Robinson?
Good evening. My name is Mary Robinson. I am a Matsu Borough resident, a taxpayer, a patriot. I represent myself. My thoughts, opinions, feelings, and beliefs in the following testimony are protected by the First Amendment. So I can't help but feel I have a rather dry, dark sense of humor that, and as a taxpayer, as a property owner, I feel everyone's pain. And I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I noticed on tonight's agenda that the Board of Equalization, there's a resolution giving them an increase in their compensation. The same board that is having difficulties apparently doing property assessments. Now that could be because there's supposed to be 15 members, and according to the vacancy report, there are 8 vacancies. So I guess they are working a little bit harder. So some good news. Iran has formally accepted a ceasefire issued by the Iranian Supreme National Security Council. It is emphasized that this does not signify the termination of the war started by the United States. Our hands remain upon the trigger, and should the slightest error be committed by the enemy, it shall be met with full force. And honestly, when someone says that they're going to bomb you back to the Stone Age, and they're going to destroy your civilization, a civilization that has been in existence for 2,500 years and gave us astronomy, mathematics, art, literature, and so many things. Yeah, I could see why they'd be a little testy about that. The other good news is today's date, April 7th, 2026, the Trump administration dropped its appeal in the lawsuit of Rhode Island v. Trump, allowing for historic victory protection against further dismantling of the Institute of Museum and Library Services for 2026. Now, the 2027 budget, we're going to have to fight all over again because Trump wants $1.5 trillion for war, while among the many cuts will be foster care, Medicare, SNAP benefits, Medicaid, disabled kids and adults, and of course, the Institute of Museum and Library Services. The president's continued attack on IMLS in today's budget and last year's executive order to shutter IMLS shows the extent to which the administration is tone deaf to the needs of millions of Americans who rely on libraries every day. Older adults and veterans who use library spaces, unemployed people who use library resources to find a job or learn new skills, families who count on story time, and students and faculty who do research in school and academic libraries. Trump has repeatedly underestimated congressional support for libraries and the lengths to which we will go to protect library services.
Travis?
Hello, my name is Travis Friesen. I live in the Valley. Today I want to talk about data centers because I've seen a lot on Facebook about people, there's polarizing feelings about these data centers, and there should be, because I've looked at how, when data centers, they, consumes a lot of water, that water's, it's not all water, it's full of minerals and deposits, and once it's boiled off, the deposits don't go with the water, and a lot of these places, what they do is that they dump it back into the main water source, which creates a lot of pollution for those streams. And I've been doing a lot of thinking, how can we, if we're to build these data centers, how are we going to address the pollution issue? And I thought of an idea, those water filtration systems that you put in your house, we could do this. We could do the same thing and have it disposed properly. And also on Facebook, I've put on some images that I've generated using AI of what data centers should look like in the future. And I know in the West Sioux project, they're thinking about that's where they're thinking about putting the data center in there. Also, they're also thinking about putting a small town site on there. And I thought an idea, why not, instead of just building the building, we could, when you put the roads down on the town site, we just dig tunnels, we just put tunnels underneath the roads and put the data centers there. I mean, if nobody sees it, it doesn't exist. And also, with the heat that's generated by these data centers, could be used to heat up the houses and other buildings in there. So, it could be a win-win. I'm just throwing it out there. But thank you.
Thank you. Heather Bowen?
Hi, my name is Heather Bauman. I'm first and foremost the mom of a most amazing fifth grader who rocked it at the chess tournament this past weekend. But I have a couple of things. One, Miss Riley did a beautiful job of inviting you all to Camp Read a Lot. But I wanted to make sure you know what time. So it's Thursday the 9th, 5:30 to 7. And there are flyers in your emails. After attending the last one of the Meadow Lakes Community Council meetings, I was doing a lot of thinking, and I was thinking about something some of the assembly members said about we need an idea about, there was a lot of conversation about people don't want to pay more taxes. And there was a lot of anecdotal examples where you as assembly members are getting a lot of conversation. And one thing I've learned in education is you can't base things on a feeling or on anecdotes. So you might feel like a student is misbehaving all the time, but it turns out that they're actually only misbehaving the 10 minutes before lunch. And if you give them a snack, it fixes it. But it feels like it's all day long. With that in mind, I have a suggestion. Perhaps you could take a look at the property taxes, and similar to what we do with Pick, Click, and Give, where we are able to designate to charities. Perhaps you as a assembly could designate some of the services and pick a small percentage of the property tax. And I, as a property tax person, would get my bill, and with it would be a checkbox. And when I pay my bill, I could check and say that I want my little tiny percentage to be designated for education, schools. I want my little bit to be designated for roads. Maybe, depending on how you set it up, you could have two choices. But then A, when it motivates me to pay my bill, B, it gives you concrete data on what the people in the borough want because they're physically voting with their money. So that way it's not just this person over here happened to catch me on the right day and they happened to talk really loudly. And these people just finally found out their school was closing and they didn't realize that they needed to come be louder. You have actual data to support your decisions and guide what you're doing. The other thing I want you to know is we're still here. You might be looking and going, hey, where's the Sea of Purple? Where's the Sea of Larson? Where's Glacier View? Well, number one, Meadow Lakes, most of our staff are not here because today, not only did we teach a full day of teaching, most of us got pulled out for hour-long interviews to interview at other jobs. And after a full day of teaching and then a long interview with, for me, there were multiple principals. It's just a little exhausting to drive all the way to Palmer. So we won't be there at 2 p.m. because we'll be working and we'll be teaching. But I want you to know just because we're not here, we're still here. Thank you.
Mary Gore. Mary?
Good morning. No, it's not morning. Good evening. Sorry, it has been a long day. And I haven't even dealt with everything they have. Okay, good morning. Oh my God, I just did it again. Good evening, Matsu Assembly members. My name is Mary Dewar. I'm a speech language pathologist in the Matsu Borough School District. And I also happen to work at Meadow Lakes. And you should come to Camp Read a Lot on Thursday because you will have a good time and you will see a strong Meadow Lakes community. So I'm here tonight to urge you to fully fund public schools. Our students deserve more funding for their public education than just getting by with skeletal funding. I would like to thank those of you that did come out to Meadow Lakes recently, and I really appreciate that I was given time with my assembly representative to discuss my budget concerns. So thank you very much. Okay, so I would like to speak to the budget cuts to Matsu Borough School District, specifically the cuts to Special Education Department. There will be at least $300,000 in cuts, if not more. This is on top of cuts that were made 1 year ago. Staffing positions removed, resources removed, including purchase orders not approved. Mary, we don't have the funds. There are many of us that continue to dip into our own pockets because the resources that we're asking for are needed and necessary. I work with many of our students that have complex medical needs. We collaborate on ensuring that these students are consuming foods and drinks safely to decrease their risk of choking and aspirating their drinks. So drinks going down towards their lungs. That's a real thing. There are many of these students with complex medical needs coming into our schools now, and they are from Talkeetna all the way to Butte. These students require speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and additional staffing to support their rights to a free and appropriate public education. We are grateful for medical advancements and that these children are surviving infancy and they are coming into our schools. These are students that may not have survived their medical issues 5 years ago. When you don't adequately fund our public schools, these are the students that pay the price, chipping away at their special education resources. When you limit funding to public education, which correlates into cutting of funds to special education services, you are not only cutting essential services to students with disabilities, but the district will be at increased risk of due process hearings and lawsuits because they may likely be cutting services to children and adolescents that are required by federal and state law. The district will potentially pay more money in lawsuits than they will save with these budget cuts that will be made because funding did not come from the assembly and the state. Okay, 16 seconds. Okay, Mr. Smolden spoke tonight, I'm wrapping it up. Mr. Smolden spoke earlier tonight about the governor. He said his quote was, "The governor is not likely to pass a budget that is not fiscally responsible." Please consider that the less you fund in our community schools, a strong correlation. Last sentence. Please consider the less you fund in our community schools, a strong correlation is that money goes into the prison system. What are your priorities? Thank you.
Okay, Violet Brooks. Violet?
That's right. Hi, my name is Violet Rainbow Brooks. I have spent the last week as a teacher going around and checking out the other schools, the charter schools. Not necessarily for myself. I did make it clear that I would really like to work at one of them one day. It's the only place I've walked into that I was afraid that I was not good enough. But looking through, I was very clear with the principals and the staff that I'm here because I want to see where my students should go. Because we were very clearly told that we should expect failure in all that we do. Unfortunately, they don't realize that I'm a librarian. I live in a fantasy world professionally. If you fight loud enough and hard enough, and if you do the right things and you provide the correct data, the right thing will happen. I wanted to remind you all tonight that you have an exceptional amount of power. The school district does as well. Know that the teachers all want the same auditing that everybody else wants because we feel that funds have been misappropriated and misspent. Know that we are very excited about the future for our children, but we'd like it with us. I am blown away by what I saw when I was going to the charter schools. I'm blown away by what I saw when I was going to other schools for interviews. I do have to say that I just got back from a turn and burn from Anchorage to go to Costco, so I'm a little tired and I apologize. Again, I would like to encourage you to also come to Camp Read a Lot. There will be hot dogs, there will be firemen, there will be dinosaurs, there will be firemen. There will be hot dogs. There will be possibly me in a giant dinosaur outfit. Because as much as I sing and dance for you, I sing and dance more at work. I refer to my job as 4 Vegas shows a day and then a block of research. I just also wanted to emphasize that when you close us, you are closing a community center. You are closing kids that are used to people standing over them and yelling at them all day. And instead of getting that at school, they get somebody who supports them and reminds them that they can go out in the world and change it. I was one of those students. I attended Snowshoe Elementary. I attended Wasilla Middle School and Wasilla High School. I left the state for 10 years, where I met my wonderful husband, who does the dishes, so I haven't had to in 8 years. I came back, and I looked around at the Mat-Su-Borough, and I said, this is where I need to be. This is where the kids need us, because they need a little laughter. I realized the first time I stood before you and wrapped my ring on this podium, you had no idea who I was. I want you to know that this is who I am. I come forward with comedy. I come forward with a light heart because I'm uncomfortable. I come forward before you showing you exactly who I am for these kids. I fight for them every step, every day. I give them everything I have. I go home. I can't talk to my husband for 2 hours because I'm just decompressing from the day. And then I wake up the next morning and I'm super excited to go back and tell them more, to do all the funny voices in all the books, to teach them about the Odyssey, to teach them about the Iliad. 4th and 5th grade doing full Odyssey and Iliad, by the way. Wild time. To teach them the fairy tales they're not learning at home, the fables they're not learning at home, the nursery rhymes they're not learning at home. So when they move forward in education, the educators that are fortunate enough to have them after me are surprised by who they are and what they can do. Thank you. Oh, again, hot dogs and firemen.
Okay, so that concludes the people that have signed up, and now we'll open it up to anybody that would like to address the assembly on any issue. Yes, yeah, just come and form a line, and then we'll go through you one at a time.
Madam Mayor and esteemed assembly members, my name is Susan Dunham. I'm a proud member of this community for over 30 years, an educator for over 40 years, and a small business owner. Children are not a line item. They are our future community taxpayers. They need supported classrooms, opportunities, and a local community where they feel comfortable. Far more effective and less costly is to invest in our schools now, not just the brick and mortar schools, but our charter schools, our hybrid schools, our college prep programs, and our career tech opportunities. As a single parent, I raised my son on only a teacher's salary. That was not easy. I had to sacrifice, I had to skimp, and I had to save. Education in this valley has been operating on sacrificing students and schools, skimping on maintenance, skimping on programs, skimping on educator pay. There is nothing left to save except for our children. I'm willing to pay for a better future. I hope you are too. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Yeah. Yeah, just come and form a line and then, yeah. So go ahead and just state your name and then give us your testimony, please.
My name is Nathan Meadows. Good afternoon, Borough Mayor. I'm just going to kind of wing it. I just kind of showed up without anything. So today, I'm late because at the end of the day, I had to deal with 2 suicidal ideations in an elementary school. As the nurse, it kind of gets divided that way. So I guess I'm coming here to stick up for the nurses too, and the students, and to ask you guys for your help. You know, one nurse, one school, there's a lot going on in each building. And to not have one in each one, days like today, stay later to do charting too, is going to get a bit heavy for everybody. And so I guess I'm just here to ask for help. To ask for you guys to pitch in with us and keep things funded, hopefully keep our schools open. That's really all the energy I have to give you right now. So I'm just here to say please.
Hello, Steve Edwards. Kicked me off the road board, but I still get to talk once in a while. So I'll start by thanking the mayor for vetoing the data center. I think that was the right decision, even though it was overridden. I have questions about who's benefiting from that and the impacts on it. And I think we should take a careful look at those factors. Also, the gas pipeline. I'm hoping you continue to take a close look at the tax waiver for that project and what the impact would be. But what I really want to do is talk about the road board contract, of course. So I want to start by publicly thanking Northern Asphalt for their years and years and years of excellent performance on that contract. It's just been exceptional. I'm talking about over and above the contract. They follow the grader around with a plow truck, push out your driveway so you don't have to shovel your 12-inch berm. Wing back is exceptionally well done. The pavement dries quickly. It's just been a very high-performing contract. So it just sounds like what happened was that contractor resubmitted their bid. Somebody decided it was too high, pulled the contract, and resent it back out with that information of what he bid known, and then got some more bids. So there's a message there. You sent a message to that contractor, and this is supposed to be a pro-business borough. Everyone talks about pro-business. You sent a message to this business that doesn't matter how good of a job you do, if we don't like you, you're gone. And there's a message to the new contractor. The message is this: give us a cheap price, and we'll just see whether you do a good job or not. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. That remains to be seen, but that's the message. It's just give us a cheap price. That's number one. And there's a message to the taxpayers. I think everyone in this room probably is in the same position as me. Despite what you do with the mill rates adjustments, every single year for 20 some years, my taxes, the bill I send to the borough has gone up. So I'm paying more taxes, and then now you're taking away the one service that I thought I was getting my money's worth out of and saying, nope, that's too high. We're going to take that away and try something else. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And then as icing on the cake, we're going to close the public schools and get rid of the nurses. And so I guess I'm just asking to change one of those things. Don't raise the taxes, cut the services, and close the schools. That just doesn't make sense. So thanks for listening. I hope you consider some alternatives. So.
Oh, I turned it off because it kept popping. I didn't know if it was mine or not. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Hello, Madam Mayor, Assembly. My name's Mark Johnson. I live out in Jordan Estates, and I'm a very, very strong advocate for public access. And at the last plating board meeting, I'd submitted a written comment to them. I wasn't able to attend the meeting to testify or anything. But on Lot 6, Block 6 of Jordan Estates, they applied for a waiver for a section line easement that runs alongside their property. And I wrote in opposition to this. The adjacent uphill 120-acre tract, that's pretty much the only public access to that. During that the plating board testimony and stuff on that, there was a gentleman that got up that gave false testimony of the different comments that he made. He said section line easements aren't public access. They never have been. And that's completely false. Those section line easements were set by the state and the federal government before the subdivisions were even put in. He also said that the surveyors that subdivide the property, and for Jordal Estates, my dad was actually the surveyor that did that. He said that, oh yeah, the surveyors come in after the fact and they put in the section line easements just willy-nilly, and that is completely false. The plating board voted unanimously to grant that section line easement, and I'm under the belief that section line easements are so important for the public access, and for this particular lot, it is the only access to it. And the gentleman has been paying taxes on it since he bought it, and now that a lot of that land is absolutely worthless. The creek coming through there, if he decided to actually work through a hydroelectric plant, a small hydroelectric plant, there is no way without that section line easement that he can put power into the MEA grid. And I'm under the understanding that the assembly has the final say on the section line waiver, and I'm urging you to vote against it. Protect the public access. And on second note, I fully support President Trump, and I fully support and stand by Israel. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Barry Blackman Green, and I am in my 29th year of teaching in this district. I started at Meadow Lakes for 3 years when there were so many kids that the kindergarten had to go to a basement of a church down the road. And in the morning and at the end of the day, you could go one direction only. And that was either unloading the buses or loading the buses. Then I went to Meadow Lakes when it opened in 2010, which was fabulous for all these families whose kids have been busing so far and have been waiting and waiting and waiting for a school. And I spent 10 years there. It was fabulous. That school is part of the community. Those parents got their kids to school. I had a lot of parents that were working multiple jobs. They needed help with food. They needed help with a lot of things, and we did. I remember one year the nurse got us together and we bought somebody a washer and dryer, a used one, because they could not afford the laundromat or the gas to get there. It was a community. It sounds like it still is a community. And taking that school away is going to impact those kids. But it's not just going to impact those kids. I have been at Iditarod since 2012. We are, yes, in a new building, but I keep hearing about these kids from these schools that are being cut are going to schools that have extra classrooms. So I've been trying to figure out where the extra classrooms are. Would that be the lobby area? Would that be the conference room, the bathrooms? Because all of our rooms are full. We have portables, 2 of which are not even in the fenced-in area, and so kids would be crossing the parking lot to get in the building. I have been in a portable before with kids. It is not ideal at all. You send a first grader or a 5th grader to the bathroom and 5 hours later they come back. It's not good for anybody. With the ice, the snow, we are talking about human beings. We are talking about kids whose right now, their lives are stressed. We have parents struggling to get their kids to school without getting fired because they're late to work or they have to leave early. We have kids that are leaving early every day because that's when the high schooler gets out of school, and that is the only person who can transport them. Our kids are losing it with just the buses being gone. I can't even imagine these kids who are going to lose their teachers, their schools, their friends who are going to be on the bus. I had 6-year-olds at Big Lake who were on the bus for over an hour each way. This is not okay. I encourage you to fund fully to the cap. We are talking about our kids, our future. We are talking about human beings. These are not just little toys or whatever. We can put them in a box, deal with them later. These are human beings who are suffering. There's stress in the community. Nobody knows what's going to happen. We've had, because we're not going to support you with more teachers, we've had people that have been denied boundaries. Kids that have gone to a school every year, 5th graders, nope, we have to deny boundaries because we can't have the teaching staff. We need to put our kids first. They are more important than anything else. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
Hello, my name is Victoria Gray. I'm here to advocate for full funding to prevent 3 schools in our school district to close. And I am here because I have been following these meetings from home with the live stream, and I have seen numerous Meadow Lake staff coming up here and talk and advocate for our school community. Not only do they inspire my children, but they also have inspired me to come out and speak tonight. So thank you. I have 2 children currently enrolled in the Meadow Lakes Elementary School. I am a Meadow Lakes alumni. My sister, my cousins, we are Meadow Lakes alumni. My nephew, alumni from Meadow Lakes Elementary School. I have a niece who is graduating from 5th grade into middle school this year, and I have another niece who's excited to join her cousins next school year, and where she thinks she is going is the Meadow Lakes Elementary School. Meadow Lakes builds strong community. They support their families. I worry about the children who are enrolled in Meadow Lakes and then are forced to go to a different elementary school. If attendance is a problem now, go ahead and stretch out those drive times to get to school. That will be a problem. What helps education is a strong family partnership between the educators and the families. And that connection is strong at Meadow Lakes Elementary School. I walk in and I get greeted by almost everyone. They know my children and I know who they are. I can't thank the Meadow Lakes staff enough for the care that they take for my children and the other children enrolled at that school. I have heard on the way here as I was watching the stream, as I rushed my husband into the car so we can make it tonight, all about Camp Read a Lot. We are so excited. Sometimes we have 12 plus family members joining us for these family engagement nights. They are so important. They take the time to come. They spend all day in the classrooms, and the staff are excited when they see families roll into that lobby, excited for their family engagement night. And why? Because family, partnership, and education go hand in hand. This is incredibly important, and if we have the funding available to provide these services to 3 elementary schools and we do not fund it, that just feels like a disservice. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to address the assembly? Yeah, come. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Traxler. I've listened to many hours of this testimony about schools. Listened to the 5-hour board meeting with the assembly. I'm a grandfather, a father, and I'm also a great-grandfather. So for 14 years, we have hauled our grandkids 2 hours each day to go to school. We bus service 4 miles away. We just drive them ourselves. And I'm going to do that with my great-granddaughter. And in order to fund these schools, you have to max the mill rate from the property taxes. You're not going to do that. You're going to close 3 schools this year, just the way it is. I know that the testimony has been gut-wrenching to listen to and difficult, but that's the adult decision that I see this assembly making. And so it's been very one-sided testimony. And so you guys are going to be the adults in the room, and you're going to consolidate schools so that we can afford them. Just the way it is. It is not a viable option to fund this budget that the school board sent to you. It's just not happening. And a lot of us see that. We know we can't afford it. Just the way it is. So just wanted to, take a moment and support the decision that you're going to make. So thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I guess we have one person online, so whoever's online, go ahead, please.
Hi, this is Sumner. I just like to, I don't like to see that Dawson guy, the only one out here beating the drum on this discrepancy between the assessed value of raw land and improvements, but he is absolutely 100% right. Nearly, as far as I could tell, looking through the Matsu, my property, everything I look at is set at at maybe half or even a third of what the true value of the property should be. And the power to tax is the power to destroy. And what you're destroying by having such an inequitable distribution of assessments is development. Anytime somebody's looking to build any kind of income generating property, commercial or multifamily, anything like that, they of course look at the property tax amounts and see if it'll pencil out. Single family homes, I think just a couple weeks ago, you guys had a meeting where you were looking at taking away people's property and selling it. I mean, that is an outcome of, a higher tax than they could afford. And when you have the burden shifted onto improvements on rather than an equitable assessment of raw land, you're punishing inequitably the homeowners and people that develop their property, while rewarding people that let their property lay foul and undeveloped. And Assembly Member Sumner said that apparently he's okay with it being fixed over a number of years, but I think the discrepancy is so egregious that you may never catch up at that rate. And whatever you guys have to do, if you have to hire more assessors or something, you need to, I think, get this fixed next year. And then, yeah, that's my opinion. Thanks. No.
Okay, thank you. And that's all we have on line? Okay, one last chance. Anybody that hasn't addressed the assembly that wants to? Okay, ready, I'm going to close audience participation, and I think it's probably time for a break. Should we do that until 8 o'clock? If I can go ahead and have the assembly come back, please, thanks. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting back to order and public hearings, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 26033, an ordinance extending the time limit for completion of expiring project funds through June 30th, 2027. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 26-33. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Okay. Is there anyone that would like to testify? And you are welcome to testify on ordinance public hearings, even if you did testify under audience participation. Okay, I don't see anybody, so I'll close the public hearing. And Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 26-033.
Okay. Discussion by the Assembly? Is there any objection? Okay, hearing no objection, the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 26034, an ordinance accepting and appropriating $281,250 from the State of Alaska Department of Commerce, Community and Economic Development, Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program for the Hazard Mitigation Plan Update Project with accompanying Resolution 2622, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for a grant in the amount of $281,250 for the Hazard Mitigation Plan Update Project, and authorizing the manager to enter into an agreement with the Alaska State Department of Commerce, Community and Economic Development. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 26-034 and resolution 26-022. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Is anyone that would like to testify on this ordinance or this resolution? Nobody online? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. And Deputy Mayor?
I move to adopt ordinance 26-034 and resolution 26-022.
Okay, discussion by the Assembly? Is there any objection by the Assembly? Hearing no objection, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 26035, an ordinance increasing the compensation of members of the Board of Equalization. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 26-035. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Does anybody would like to address the Assembly on this ordinance? Do we have anybody online? We do not. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. And Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 26-035.
Okay, discussion by the Assembly? Yes.
Just wanted to note for anybody listening online, because this was called out by somebody who was testifying, that noting that we were increasing the compensation of the Board of Equalization. This is going from $50 to $100. So this is a very minimal amount of increase, and probably deservedly so for the board members who are putting in a lot of time.
Assemblyperson McKees, go ahead.
I think the timing is kind of probably off on this one, just like it is with extra compensation for borough assembly meetings, because we all put in a lot of time. We do it because you should do your civic duty. But I think it's poor timing when we're closing schools and asking people to make sacrifices. I just think it sends a wrong message. So I can't support it. I'm sorry to the people on the Equalization Board, but it is tough times, and I just think you lead by example. So that's my thought on that.
Okay. Further discussion? Yes, Assemblyperson.
To get a context, who is it, Brenda, that you run those meetings? Or who out of the any clerks
assessments?
Assessments does.
Do you know approximately how many times a year they meet?
Well, normally normally they meet, the filing appeal period is done, I think like the end of February when I served. So unless it's changed, the last few years in Cheyenne, and she'll grin at me and correct me, is generally then during March and April, and then they have to be done with their work in order for you to set the mill levy. So Cheyenne, correct me if I'm wrong, or?
Actually, we start scheduling the boards after the appeal period when we get the formal appeals in. They've started meeting, and we are working to get many of those appeals resolved before they actually go to the board. I think last year they had under 20 appeals that were heard by the board. So we're talking $100 a day is what they do. It's for their compensation.
But I guess how many? Yeah, I understand daily rate, but during that time, do they meet 5 times? I mean, I've seen on our schedule, there's several times the meetings. Do you know how many times they meet normally?
That I can't answer right off the top of my head. Like I said, they schedule the meetings if the people show up or if they cancel them. But right now, I believe we started out, and it was in the manager's weekly post. We started out with a total of 148 meetings. That has been narrowed down to about half, I believe, at this point. And we're continuing to narrow them down, but they're scheduled to meet through the end of this month.
Okay. During what time do they meet? Do they meet in the evening?
They meet during the day.
So they take the time from their
Yes.
day to, okay. And so is the meetings usually last several hours, or, because I was only once on the other appealing side, and I remember I was on hold for hours and hours before my turn came. So I figured those last at least several hours, right?
Again, I think it depends on each appeal and what's being brought forward. I can't really speak to every appeal, but it depends on the complexity and what's brought forward as to how long the meetings are.
Do you know when last time they got an increase in their pay?
No, I don't. I think this has been in code for a long time at a $50.
Yeah, sounds like it's similar situation that we have on assembly, and I know I got coached for what I proposed, but one of the things I noticed on these positions, it is difficult to find people that are willing to come in, and especially with this position, being during a day where people have to take a full day off because, you plan, I know it's usually lasts several hours at least. I think this is a very modest increase. I'm going to actually offer an amendment to have it to be at $150 per meeting because they are committing full day. It's not an evening thing. And we don't know, but I'm going to guess it's been possibly decades when last time there was increase. I don't know if attorney has any historical data for us, but if you can, I just want to put it in context if anybody else has a question, but that would be my amendment because they are only meeting several times throughout the year, but they're on the hook for those month and a half or depending on how long the schedule is. And there is a decent amount of time commitment that is involved, and it's a modest number. So.
Okay, so we have an amendment on the floor, right? So the discussion.
Madam Mayor?
Will be on the amendment. Yes, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, Cheyenne, can you tell me, do any of these boards receive any other compensation or benefit besides their daily rate?
This through the mayor to Assembly Member Gamble, Cheyenne Handel, Finance Director. This board gets $100 or $50 for their daily rate. I don't believe they get any other compensation. They don't get mileage to come to the borough building. They don't get anything else like that.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay, Assemblyperson Hours.
I would love to give them $150, but I really they're going to be underpaid no matter what. Like you noted, they're taking a full day out. They have to understand a very complicated subject. And this year, I think they're going to have a lot of additional meetings because this body passed the legislation making it so you could do a tax appeal without potentially, you cannot get a tax increase. So there are a lot more cases that they're going to have to deal with. But I do appreciate Ms. McKee's comments about just being conscious of where we're at fiscally. So I could see increasing it to $100. And then if we want to come back at another time, once we see how that goes, with kind of more, not just on the spur of the moment, we want to do 150, but why we should raise it from 100 to 150, I could consider that. But for tonight, I could only consider raising it to 100.
Further discussion by the Assembly?
Nick, did you get that by any chance?
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to tell easily tonight. I'd have to go dig through the old ordinances and see which ones changed. Because this ordinance was enacted in '07, it was amended in 2010 and 2014. So I'd have to see which one of those. It would take me maybe a half hour, 45 minutes to find out, but it's not something I can do here tonight.
Further discussion by the Assembly? Yes. Assemblyperson Bowles, also, I know you mentioned and get Lonnie's signature, but if you will step forward too, so you catch my eye, I would appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Because I look down there and I don't see you, and so I want to know. So go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm actually in agreement with Assemblymember Fawnoff on this one. And then speaking specifically to this amendment and $150, these are all volunteers, and they don't get mileage. We don't know. I don't know where they're driving. They might be driving in from Willow, Talkeetna.
They can come from any.
Yeah.
There's no designated areas. There's designated credentials as
Yes.
far as certain things, but not mileage. Yeah.
My issues with the raise for us elected officials, that was a large amount. We all were elected under knowing what it was going into it. This is different. This is 12 years ago was a very different economy than what we are in now. And $150, it's $100 difference, and it could be end up dwindling down to 10 meetings. So I think, for me as a state of Alaska employee in my day job, I can take leave and still be compensated for my job. But I don't know if everybody's like that. If somebody takes work off their job, if they're working, a restaurant or work somewhere in the civilian world, they might just have to take a day off altogether to volunteer their service to this borough. So it's very different. So I'm going to have to say I'm in support of this.
Yeah. Can I just check? Because Assemblyperson Sumner has not talked yet. So I want to be sure to give everybody a chance, and then I'll come back to you. Yes, Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that, I've said it before, we are stewards of the taxpayers' money. It's always easy to spend other people's money. I don't see that, $150 still is not touching the value of the day for these professionals. These are not, these are real estate agents. They are appraisers. They're people in the industry that have qualifications that can actually deliberate on the values of the properties. They're doing this because it's for the good of the community. That $50 difference from 100 to 150 will not make them volunteer or not volunteer. They're doing it out of civic obligation, if you will. So the extra $50 in my mind is wasted. So I would not support this amendment.
Okay, and Assemblyperson Fawnoff, go ahead.
Lenny, what are we paying hand ballot counters per day when they count or they work at the polling place? Because I know we do that, and that's usually once a year, or the counters actually come back some more. But
For the mayor, too, Assemblymember Fawnoff, hand count precinct officials make $200. And then the hand count, let me see, hand count chairs for the precincts make $250. And then the absentee hand counters make $350, I do believe.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're not gonna pay them what maybe they're worth, but the expertise and qualification that it takes, and whether it's a person who's willing to set the day aside to cover their meals and travel, you know, they're still taking a day off. That's the reality. I do think it's a modest increase. So cost of living has gone up in the last 20 years, and dollar does not worth the same that it did before. I know it's we could say not a perfect time, but there's never really a perfect time. So I think it's a reasonable thing, and hopefully you'll get more engagement and more applicants, because I believe there's a lot of vacancies on the board, if I remember. So hopefully we can get, at least give them a little bit of incentive for people who are qualified to come over and say, yeah, at least I'm getting something out of it. So I think it's not going to make a difference. And so if you didn't support the big increase to assembly, this is some of the boards. Those are the volunteer positions that I think we should, give them a incentive. So that's why I'm going to continue asking for your support in this amendment.
Okay. Assemblyperson Bowles, and then I'll come to McKee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, yeah, I guess just a little bit more too is, so this particular board is looking at land assessments, property assessments. So, they very well could be in their action lowering taxes. So I am 100% in agreement with you. I do agree that we need to make sure that we are making appropriate decisions with tax dollars. I think in this instance, though, from let's say 2014, it was $50 to now 14 years later, $150. Gas is at $5 a gallon. I mean, I think that this is not even a drop in the bucket. I think that this is a speck of dust. And I think that it shows that we are vested in the people that volunteer for this board. So, thank you.
Assemblyperson McKee?
Yeah, kind of a key word, volunteer. Volunteer means you give your services. We're not volunteers because we get a stipend. But Tip O'Neill very famously said one time, a long time ago, he was Speaker of the House Democrat, said, a few thousand here, a few thousand there, pretty soon it ends up to be serious money. And when you got all these little pots in this borough that you can drop little bits of money in, pretty soon you might end up with some serious money. That's my first point. The second point is, obviously, these folks who show up to testify with their hearts about not closing our schools. How can we give anybody anything, especially something we're going to call insignificant, but to them it's not. And I guess if you think that hanging out an extra 50 or $100 is going to tempt somebody to come, maybe that's not the kind of person you want to attract, because we do what we do and they do what they do because it's what needs to be done. Those are my reasons.
Okay, Assemblyperson Hours?
I can't dispute that you're not going to get, people who, I'm going to get $100 a day. I'm going to jump at that. But I do think we have significantly increased their workload this year because of the change we've made. And I don't know if we've doubled the number of appeals. I know the manager told us, I just can't remember, but a huge number more appeals. And so it's a token acknowledgement of that additional workload we've put on them. So that's why I would support jumping into 100.
Assemblyperson Sumner?
I was going to call the question, but
Okay.
Mr. Bernier hasn't spoken yet.
One quick question. How many people are on the board?
Well, you heard the testimony tonight. I think there's 15 positions. We've only filled 8. And I'll tell you that it is the hardest board for me to fill. With 30 years of real estate experience, I thought, I can go in there and have people right away. And it didn't. And this year, we had to really scurry. We got a couple people that were on the board that went out and twisted quite a few arms to get people on there because they're professional people. And to take a whole day or even a half a day off it stops there. So they have to have a pretty good volunteer spirit and love for the borough too. So there's 8 of them now, I believe, unless somebody resigned in the last 24 hours.
Your recommendation, if you had to vote on it?
Yeah, I think I would go with the 150 because they probably make 2 or 3 times that as much when they're out in the field doing their position. So anyway, but let's see. Okay, I got accused of always going this way, so I'm looking this way. Go ahead, Assemblyman.
I call the question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is there any objection to calling the question? Okay, I don't hear any objection, so Madam Clerk?
We are on the amendment to change 100 and insert 150. If I can get the members in the room to vote. Assemblymember Gamble.
No.
Madam Mayor is failed with Assemblymember Fanoff, Bernier, and Bowles in support.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're back to the main motion. Further discussion on the main Assemblyperson McKee.
I just have to point out, when you're talking about these real estate folks and all that, going out making 300 or 400 times, no, 3 or 4 times as much as that they would make on the Board of Equalization, they don't need the money. So, enough said.
Okay, further discussion on the motion to adopt ordinance 26-035. Any objection? Okay, we do have an objection, Madam Clerk.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote. Assemblymember Gamble.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember McKee opposed.
Okay. Okay, then we have. That's it, and then we're to the next, and we don't have a sign-in sheet. Okay, we now are on the agenda for the second audience participation. If you have participated in the first audience participation, you were not allowed to testify at this time. But if you haven't, we welcome, and it can be on any subject, whether it's on the agenda or not. So do we have some? Yes, sir, come forward.
Hello, Assembly. How are you guys tonight? Brian Ficklin Construction. I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about the RSA 27 award that's coming up. In the past, there's been some concerns about the performance of our company, and there's an old adage about essentially how many bridges a company builds over time. If one of them collapses, are you forever held to that standard? And I'd like to talk to you guys about essentially that Fick Construction has had road maintenance contracts. We've had them for about 5 years. In that 5 years, our last year was a rough year. We were in a different position as a company and that we are now. We've grown substantially. We no longer utilize rental shop facilities. We own our own facilities now. All the equipment that we had leased and financed over those times that was a terrible financial burden to us, we now own outright. No more payments, which is a big savings to us and to the taxpayers for these contracts. In the past, we had contracts that we're a big lake-based company, so our contracts were quite a distance from our main shop, making us heavily reliant on rental shops, rental equipment. Whereas Meadow Lakes, half of my staff live in Meadow Lakes. I live right at the border of Meadow Lakes. We're right there on this contract. We've made financial changes where we no longer are living in the past. We're no longer at a single source debt. Our realtor at the time was our landlord, our financer for equipment leases, and the same guy that we bought all of our equipment through financing. So I'd like to just basically ask you guys to judge me by my years of performance, not just the last year of performance I had in road maintenance, and to promise that we are going to do everything in our power to fill the previous contractor's shoes. They're big shoes to fill, but we would like to fill them, and I know we can. We have the men, we have the resources, and we're right here essentially living in this contract, in this RSA, whereas in the past we weren't headquartered where we were working at. So I'd thank you guys for your time, and thank you guys.
Anyone else that would like to testify on any subject? We have anybody? We do not have anybody online. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close audience participation. And Madam Clerk. We're on the consent agenda. Does anybody have any more items to pull? I guess not. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
AM 26034, awarded bid number 26121B to Northern Gravel in the contract amount of $300,000 to remove the conveyor system at Port McKenzie. AM 2635, awarded proposal number 2687P to ECI in the contract amount $718,484 to design the Willow Emergency Services Building. AM 26036, authorization to renew the borough's cartograph asset management software with OpenGov under a 3-year agreement covering July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029. The total cost of the agreement is $261,246.41 with an annual payment subject to appropriation. AM 2637, authorization to renew ProjectMate software with System Mates under a 3-year agreement covering July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029. The total cost of the agreement is $415,657.13 with annual payment subject to appropriation. AM 2638, authorization to renew the borough's open text content manager software with Information First under a 3-year agreement covering July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029. The total cost of the agreement is $292,165.75 with the annual payment subject to appropriation. AM 2639, awarded bid number 26123B to Meyer Excavation in the contract amount of $496,093 to construct a new fish passage culvert at an existing culvert crossing on Home-Built Circle at Nicholson Lake.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
I move to approve the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk.
Okay, is there any objection to the ones that the clerk has? Yeah, Assemblyperson Bowles, yes.
So, Madam Mayor, I wasn't going to object, but I have to state this on the record. I am having trouble with AM 26-039, $500,000 bid for placing a culvert. I don't know if that can be pulled and discussed at this point, but that seems high. That seems unnecessary when my understanding is, unless it's completely damaged, culverts can be fixed and mitigated, at a much less cost than $500,000.
Okay, I understand from the clerk, since it wasn't polled earlier, we're going to have to divide the question so people can vote on that one and then the rest of them. So does he, we have to divide the question now? We have to vote on that.
Yes, Madam Mayor, he would have to move to divide the question to take AM 2639 separately.
Okay, so I need.
Yes,
go
Madam
ahead,
Mayor.
sir.
So I move to divide the question.
Okay.
And
You wanna go ahead and
separate.
state which one you're taking out?
Yes,
then,
Madam Mayor.
Just for sure. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, I move to divide the question and separate AM 26-039.
Okay. Discussion by the Assembly? Is there Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
Only because I don't understand the process, and that is that we ask at the beginning if there's anything to be pulled from the consent agenda, and then when we get to the consent agenda, you ask again, and I just kind of think, predictably, that should be a done deal. I don't understand why, if there's a rule, there's a rule. And you always are so gracious to give us several chances to pull something, and I think that's the time to do it.
Yeah. So if there is an objection, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, Assemblyperson Paula.
I would support you so we can have a conversation. A lot of times what I noticed, if we might not get the answer right away, we'll get a staff report for next meeting. If we had to postpone, it is a lot of money. They will explain what actually goes in the project. And then at that time, you're more comfortable. And for that reason, I don't think waiting a couple weeks if we have to, we probably will get to the same result after you hear the answers, or it might solidify your gut feeling for not pulling through. So yeah, it's not a deal breaker for me. So yeah, I'll support you on that.
Okay. Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one more. I have been encouraged in the past, if I have a question that could possibly be answered prior to being on the dais, if it would save some time and get the information to me, and I would say, oh, of course I wouldn't support it, or yeah, I would. Maybe that's another. So we really have more than just even the two that we get tonight. So anyway, enough said.
Okay, so now this is just to divide the question. It isn't mean you're in support or opposition to that AM, correct? Madam Chair?
Correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so is there objection to dividing the question? We do have objection, Madam Clerk.
If I can get the members in the room to vote on division of the question. Assemblymember Gamble.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember McKee opposed.
Okay.
Now we're at the exact point of approving everything else that was read into the record, and it does not need to be moved again, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So now we're back to the ones the deputy mayor made the motion on that the clerk read, but and that's without the ones that everybody pulled earlier in the evening, and now the one that we just pulled, okay? So does everybody understand what you're going to be voting on now? Okay. You're going to be voting on...
Okay, the rest of the agenda with this one taken out.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Is there objection to passing then everything that originally stand for that hasn't been pulled? Okay, I don't hear any objection, so then the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk has been approved. Now we will go to the pulled ones.
Correct. Well, we'll go to 26039 because it didn't get pulled separately. It's part of the motion that Assemblymember Bernier moved. So
Okay.
now we're on AM 26039, Madam Mayor.
Right, and it's already been moved.
It's already been moved, correct.
Right, so discussion on 26 dash, yes. Yep. Okay, sure.
Okay, so Russell, give me a hand if it's a question around the procurement, because I don't know off the top of my head how many bidders there were, but I remember it being very competitive, 9 bidders. But here's the thing, what these fish passage culverts do, it's not just about replacing like bad or old culverts. It's about actually putting culverts in that support fish moving through the culverts. Most or many of the culverts that we've had, and it's true for the state of Alaska, don't support fish moving through culverts, which is a problem. And so this has been a program the borough's been working with for a while. Some of this money is paid for by grants from either ADF&G or the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And I don't know what the exact apportioning of funding was between our match and what the grant provided. But that's why we go in and actually put new infrastructure in, because it has to be fish passage compliant. And so we use that grant funding to help supplement, and of course it does improve road infrastructure because oftentimes these culverts are not in best shape. So it's kind of a win-win from that perspective. But the reason the borough's been doing this, and we've been actively doing this for years, is to support better fish habitat in the borough. And we're using federal and state funding to help support that. The state does not move on this at near the pace that we do in terms of improving this infrastructure in the borough. So it's been a longstanding program, and I understand when they talk about the culvert, it's not just a culvert. It's you've got to reseed at all of that on both sides of the road, and so it's the scope is more extensive than just a basic culvert repair. Hopefully that helps.
All right. Is that adequate, or should we have staff, additional staff? Okay. Assemblyperson Bowles, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm curious if we have, if he's willing to speak, we have the RSA board chair here, who I would consider more of an expert than me. I know these have come up on our Fish and Wildlife Commission as well, these culverts, and I am by no means an expert on these, but my understanding is rather than completely tearing these up and replacing them, they can actually be mitigated by just adding sand and other things and changing these culverts. So I don't know if pulling this out and completely replacing it is necessary at the cost of $500,000, or if mitigating this one and keeping it in place is something that can happen. That's where I was at while I was reading this week. And I agree with Assemblywoman McKee. I probably maybe should have reached out, but I kind of thought about it. And I know that we discussed these at our Fish and Wildlife Commission, but this one, for some reason, is not sitting well with me, and it hasn't been. So that's why I'm bringing it up now. So that's where I'm at on this one.
Does anybody on the assembly want any additional staff report? Everybody's fine, okay? And then Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention one thing, and this has nothing to do with fish passages, but those culverts are awfully important. And I can tell you, on my own little street, we actually had one which had deteriorated so much over time, talking about repairing them, sometimes you can't. We actually had a horse and rider fall through, and they were just like stranded there for hours hanging in the culvert. So you got to get them while you can. They can't usually just be fixed.
Okay. Why, we're waiting for that. Assemblyperson Sumner, did you have a comment?
Oh, I was just going to comment that I do engage in civil work, and I didn't read the bid packet on this one, but seeing that there were 9 bids and the scale that was explained in the IM, and then seeing that most of the bids were $200,000 more than this bid. Actually, we have the second lowest bidder here in the room. It was Ficklin Construction. I think that this is not, we're not overpaying for the work that is being performed, if that's a concern. I think your question is more of, is this work necessary? And that's a question I don't think we're going to get answered here tonight. So perhaps you're asking to postpone this. I don't know.
Go ahead.
I will just say, ADF&G goes through and scores these culverts. So it's not something borough staff do all by themselves. And so they use a criteria to score which ones are in most need of replacement. And we tend to follow that in terms of order of the work that we're doing. So it is something that's informed by fish biologists. Good.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Russ Kraft, Purchasing Director, to Assemblymember Bowles for the mayor. Calling it a culvert is probably not the best way to describe what this actually is. This is a large aluminum multi-plate structure. The culvert, or the structure itself, costs $250,000. Part of that cost is inflated because of the type of money we're using. This has to be BABA compliant, so it has to be U.S. manufactured. Actually, the low bidder today submitted paperwork to us. We're trying to find an alternate route to use a steel structure instead of an aluminum structure, because getting that BABA compliance is so difficult right now. So we are looking at options on it. It won't necessarily impact the price, but understand that there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's not just a culvert. So they've got to go through, remove that entire thing, install this larger oversized culvert, and then rebuild that stream down in there to make it more accessible, to not only control the level of the lakes, but also to make it easier for those fish to pass up into it. So,
any questions? While we have staff here, any questions for staff? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Madam Mayor.
Can I go ahead, Assemblyperson Gamble, Bill, I was going to say.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hey, Russ, can you recall the approximate cost of the last, 2 or 3 or 4 of these that we've put in? Because my recollection is this isn't that much more than a lot of the culverts that we've been doing recently. Can you help me with that?
Yes, to Assemblymember Gamble through the mayor. The prices vary a lot because a lot of it depends on, is it a gravel surface, a residential type road? Is it a paved surface? But we're very happy with this price, actually. This came in under the engineered estimate on the project. So.
Okay. Yes. Well, I'm sorry, because I had recognized the deputy mayor.
Can you repeat what percentage is federally funded that we're receiving?
That, to Assemblymember Bernier, I don't have that information available to me. Cheyenne, maybe it'll help based on what the fiscal note
Phone a
indicates.
friend here, right? Oh, she went to get some.
She was going to get the legislature.
Oh, she was going to get the legislature. Okay.
Madam Mayor, he just said his questions are answered.
Doesn't
Okay.
say what the split is.
Yeah, but this was the deputy mayor's question, so let me go to him.
It's all broken to profit. It doesn't say what the split is.
Okay. Okay, is your question, okay. Is there any I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one more comment. So yes, Assemblyman Summer was absolutely correct. I was just, if it needs to be done, I'm convinced now. Thank you very much for that information. Manager Brown, I apologize for dropping this on you. It wasn't quite there for me. So I apologize for that, but thank you. I'm now clear. I'm comfortable voting yes on this. Thank you.
Okay. So is there any objection to passing AM 26-039? Okay, I don't see any and I don't hear any from online. So then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 26027, a resolution requesting the state of Alaska to review DMV process and consider modifications to facilitate refugees' ability to renew driver's license. It was pulled by Assemblymember McKee.
Okay. Assemblyperson McKee, if you will go ahead and move it and then tell us your position or your input.
Okay. I move RS 26-027 and would like to just make one change to it. I guess this would be like an amendment. Because on page 3 of 4, it says, and it's going through the requests the legislature consider adopting the following statutory language to effectuate such amendments to blah, blah, blah. And it says on number 6, the person has not been convicted of a felony in this state. And I just want to change that to any state. Because if he's an axe murderer here, he might have been an axe murderer somewhere before. Just, lousy analogy. But wherever there has been that, I would say that would disqualify them.
Okay.
So that's an amendment, I guess.
That's an amendment?
Is it? It sounded like I'm changing it. Or I want to.
Can you speak into the mic
Just a
a
minute.
little bit? We're having a little bit of trouble. Speak into the mic. Dee, get it.
Okay.
There, thank you.
It says that this resolution wouldn't take effect if, is that 3 or 4?
It's page 3, number 6, strike in this state.
Oh, yes. In other words, just if they've had a felony anywhere, that would disqualify them, not just if they had a felony here because they've lived in 4 other states and they got 4 other felonies, and we would disregard that, and that's what this language would allow, and I don't want to allow that.
Okay, we have an amendment on the floor to remove those, or to delete those words. Do we have an objection to delete that? Okay, hearing no objection.
No, Wanda, can you read how it's going to be written?
Number 6 would
Yeah.
read, has not been convicted of a felony.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sure.
I just have a question, like, a lot of these people we're talking about have only just come here and they've probably only been in one state, and I totally support what you're doing. I just wonder for DMV, like, we don't want it to get hung up with them. So would that cause any issue? I don't know if anybody knows the answer to this. Maybe, Wade's left, darn it. If DMV can easily search that record, or if it would cause them to, have a conundrum like we can't search every state's record. I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that.
Big Brother knows everything.
But you got to figure if they landed at SeaTac and committed a felony, and then the next day they're in Alaska, it's like, okay, I stand with it.
I guess if we don't know the answer to that, let's pass it in at the state level. I mean, we're asking the state to do this, so if we become aware that that's going to be an issue, we can tweak it there.
Yes.
To answer that
Assemblyperson
question, we
Fano?
don't know for sure, and but at the same time, this is just our request for general thought. This is just proposed how we have it. We'd be lucky if we even got anything close to it, because when we went to June and we talked about some of the legislators, well, personal sponsorship has ended. We might be able to get through a committee and things like that. And I've been in touch with a couple of the people. It's might not be even touched till next year. Either way, I'm okay with it. If it hinders the DMV, I don't know if they have a system like that, but we are going to put another layer if that was written in the state legislation. But I'm sure there's always method to figure that out too. So I'm okay either way.
Further discussion? Is there objection to the resolution 26-0?
Amendment.
Or for the amendment? I thought that I got no objection for adopting the amendment, didn't I?
Madam Mayor, it hadn't been voted on. Assemblymember Nowers had a question on whether this would affect the DMV. We have not voted on the primary amendment.
Oh, okay. I thought I asked if there was no is there any objection to the primary amendment? Okay, thank you. You're welcome. I'm sorry. I did it in my head. I don't know why you didn't get it down. Okay, now, okay, Assemblyperson Nowers.
I don't know if Mr. Panoff noticed, but I wore my Ukrainian pin just for this legislation that you brought to us. So thank you for bringing it. These are people that are trying to do good, and this is just a way to help them. And you answered my other question, which was what was the chances that the state would get around to changing this year, because it just is common sense legislation. So I hope we can continue to beat the drum and maybe get Juneau to pass this year.
Further discussion on the motion? Yes, Assemblyperson Fano.
Just so audience understand, this was brought, this is issue that basically has people that can't, I want to make sure people understand. What we're asking for is the people that, the vast majority who I'm speaking for here in the state of Alaska, that came here legally, who obtained work permits, and they followed all the right steps. And what happens, their work permits are issued for 2 years. And along with that work permit, you go to DMV and you get a driver license. And the driver license expiration date aligns with that work permit. In 2025, a lot of the people that came here in 2023, their permit has expired and they applied for a renewal. They paid fee, they followed all the rules, and some of them have now, I think last time I talked, waited up to a year, 11 months for that permit to be renewed. Meanwhile, their driver licenses are automatically have expired. And these are the people that live here with us. So I think if anything, it's a safety concern for us. We much rather have these people that did not lose their driver license to bad driving or anything like that. They have, they're just expired because their work authorization expired and they're in the process of renewing it. So they completed what was asked from the federal side and they're just patiently waiting. Not only to mention, they can't not only drive license, they can't even get an ID to go to bank or anything like that. So it's a really inconvenience thing. And we were hoping that DMV would be more understanding if people have submitted some kind of documents that they provided everything to the federal government for renewal of their work authorization. That's not sufficient enough for license to be issued. We even had a case where I went to DMV to interpret for a family that had a documents that their case was conditionally approved. They paid $1,000 to renew their work authorization, but DMV still was not able to renew their driver license. That just tells you the flaw in our DMV system. And you know, the sad part is those people who waited for 10, 8, 12 months, when they renew their work, finally they do get their renewal authorization, it goes retroactively from the day that was expired. And that's then they have the work authorization that's only valid for maybe a year, 13 months, and they have to go through a whole thing again. So we were hoping that at least in the state of Alaska, for those people who are obeying law and want to do it the correct way, they can at least continue to drive legally on the roads. And that's just to kind of give you explanations what we're trying to do. And hopefully Juna will do something, and it could be done administratively from DMV, and maybe we should do another resolution to DMV, but this is, we're asking state to change it. But DMV, I think, has enough, or the Department of under governor's power, there is enough also levers that this can be done administratively. So hopefully, maybe depending where this go, it's not likely moving any fast, because when we went to June, it's been a while, nothing has been done since. Maybe we'll do a separate resolution to a governor, something administratively can be done so this issue can be addressed. So that, just sorry for being too long, but that just to give you a full perspective of what we're trying to do here.
Further discussion? The motion before us is to adopt Resolution 26-27. Is there some objection? I hear no objection, then it has passed. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 2628, a resolution opposing Senate Bill 277 and urging the protection of parental rights, charter school funding, and correspondence education. This was pulled by Assemblymember McKee.
Okay, go ahead and go, ma'am.
I move Resolution 26-028 and would like to address it.
Okay, do you want to talk about it?
I have a couple reasons. One of them is that this is the first draft of this bill. And the first draft is just exactly that. It could go through 20 things. And by the time you see the bill at the end of when it's getting ready to be voted on, you will hardly recognize. So I think maybe this action is just a little bit premature, because the first draft is just like you could write it on the back of a cocktail napkin and, that's my first draft. So I think that we might be making a little noise here that doesn't need to be made yet. I kind of like to know what's in the plan truly before I spend much time shooting down this and that and the other thing. There are 3 or 4 things in there that I don't particularly care for, and then there are several things that I do like. So, but I want to really know where it's going, and I've got, my family has been in the legislature since 1993, something like that, and I know how these things go, so I don't get excited with the first draft. So I think it's kind of a waste of our time. The second thing that's been noised around out there is that Rob Yunt, our former assembly member, has something to do with this. He is indeed on the education committee, but he's really low man on the totem pole. He doesn't really have much input. His name, if you check the bill, and I did, there's nowhere in there that he sponsored it. So if that's a concern to anybody who either it may be at odds with him on this particular thing or other things, it doesn't really count. It's not, the main objections on this are not, for supporting this bill, they're not excellent. It doesn't, neither one of those is of any consequence, because Rob Yunt doesn't really have anything to say. He can cast his vote, of course, but that's all he gets. And then the other, of course, it might be much ado about nothing at this point. Those are my objections to it.
Okay, Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, so I sponsored this resolution, and the number one reason, and pretty much the entire reason, is to move as a united front, the Matsu Borough. So the school board moved a resolution that is almost word for word exactly the same, and they passed it with a unanimous vote. And if you read Senate Bill 277, it really is in direct conflict with our legislative priorities, Madam Mayor. So I think that it's very important that we, as the Matsu Borough Assembly, strongly support our Matsu Borough School District in having their back in support of their resolution. And it shows that we are united, that we are fellow conservatives alongside of them, and that we have their back and we support them. And I'd like to, if you're okay with it, actually read this into the record so that everybody listening has an understanding of what this resolution says.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Resolution serial number 26-028, a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Assembly opposing Senate Bill 277 and urging the protection of parental rights, charter school funding, and correspondence education. Whereas the Borough Assembly is committed to the concept of providing robust, flexible, and high-quality educational opportunities for all students, recognizing that school choice has long been a cornerstone of Alaska's educational landscape. And whereas Alaska Statute 14.03.016 provides for the long-standing tradition of a parent's right to direct the education of a parent's child, including correspondence programs that predate statehood. And whereas Alaska law has historically recognized the right of parents to direct the education of their children without unnecessary administrative barriers or compulsory enrollment in a local district. And whereas Alaska has historically prioritized funding education closest to the student rather than expanding administrative structures to serve remote and diverse populations who seek educational options. And whereas Senate Bill 277 proposed changes that would impose new financial administrative burdens on families participating in correspondence programs, appearing to remove parents from their present role as primary decision makers in their children's education. And whereas SB 277 allows for up to 8% indirect cost deduction from education funding allocated to correspondence students, while at the same time does not establish a cap on additional fees or charges that districts may impose on families. And whereas Section 4 of SB 277 amends AS 14.14.110A to place severe restrictions on cooperative arrangements for correspondence study programs, explicitly prohibiting these funds from being used to provide special education services, in-person classes, career and vocational courses, or extracurricular activities, thereby isolating correspondence students and denying vulnerable students essential support. And whereas Section 7 of SB 277 amends 14.17.500 to fundamentally alter the state's correspondence funding model by mandating that average daily membership, ADM, funding for out-of-district correspondence students be directed to the student's resident district rather than the district actually providing the education program. And whereas under this model, families may be required to enroll in a district that does not directly provide instructional services, teachers, or resources, raising serious question about the justification for administrative overhead charges and effectively forcing districts to dismantle their statement correspondence offerings. And whereas brick and mortar schools have not historically operated in cooperative partnership with correspondence programs, despite such arrangements already being permissible under current law. And SB 277 does not clearly demonstrate how proposed changes improve or expand these relationships, raising concerns about the unequal treatment of correspondence students and a lack of accountability for districts. And whereas SB 277 amends AS 14.03.260A to increase the indirect cost rate districts may retain from charter schools' annual programs budgets from 4 to 8%, directly siphoning critical operational funds away from charter school classrooms and student services. And whereas any policy changes, T there instead of a C, policy changes should reinforce, not weaken, Alaska's robust educational choice system and the autonomy it provides to families. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Borough Assembly is officially opposed to Senate Bill 277 in its current form due to the severe and negative impacts it will have on charter school viability, correspondence program support services, and statement educational choices. And be it further resolved that lawmakers are urgently requested to 1. Protect and affirm the rights of parents to direct their children's education without unnecessary requirements. 2. Protect the funding follows the child model. Funding follows the student model for statewide correspondence programs to ensure geographic freedom and educational choice for Alaskan families. 3. Preserve Alaska's long-standing correspondence education tradition. 4. Avoid policies that disincentivize or financially penalize correspondence and charter school students. 5. Remove restrictions on cooperative agreements that would deny correspondence students access to special education, in-person labs, and extracurricular activities. And I will end with, this addresses the way SB 277 is written in its current form. It does not address any future amendments, any future CS's committee substitutes. Moving forward, this simply supports our borough school board, and it lays the statement that we are in agreement with them. Now, if a future bill is moved or amendments move forward, this resolution at that point becomes moot. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Further discussion? Are we ready? Do we have objection or, I'm sorry, comment?
Just a comment that the thing that caught my attention about this was the taking the funds away from the district where the student was attending, which made no sense to me. And, if the parents are choosing that, they're choosing it for a reason. And we are struggling with that as a district with 4,000 students who are attending outside the borough. But the solution is not to just take the funding back. It is to find a way to bring those students, offer them things that is attractive to the parents. I agree with Ms. McKee. I do note that I went back and looked. This specifically says we are opposed to Senate Bill 277 in its current form. So, yeah. So I guess I'm going to support it at this point, just for that most objectionable thing in there is that funding part, and I don't mind being on record objecting to that.
It's like I said, I have 3 or 4 places that I object to it, but there's some awfully good things in there. So what we're doing is we're accentuating the negative instead of the positive. And there's that READ program, $450 for the kids that are the carrot that's hanging out there that's saying, you learn to read and look what you could start a business. But I think, overall with education, it's occurring to me, we're looking in the wrong places. We need to find out what is making some schools like Shaw. Why does everybody want to go to Shaw? Why did Palmer Junior Middle School in 2010 or whenever it was when we were the best in the state? Why did we get that way? We're looking at things that aren't fixing anything. The things we're trying to do are just like Band-Aids all over the place. We need to find out what fundamentally is not attractive about brick and mortar schools and fix it, because we can. So I just think that we're just in anguish every year, struggling, and Katie and her folks and us and the state and all, we're trying to figure it out when it's something that we work so hard on it during the sessions that by the time it's over, it's like, thank God, another year. We got some breathing room. No, we don't. We need to start looking in the right places. It's where can we fix it from the bottom up? And I've said enough, so I'm against it for the reasons that I said.
Further discussion by the Assembly? Well, I guess there is objection, so.
Members in the room can vote on Resolution 26028. Assemblymember Gamble. Assemblymember Gamble. Is he still on the line? Can you press *2? I can hear buttons.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember McKee opposed.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
AM 26032 awarded bid number 26129B to Ficklin Construction in the contract amount of $1,186,406 for Meadow Lakes Road Service Area Annual Road Maintenance rebid. It was pulled by Assemblymember McKee.
Okay. Assemblyperson McKee? Oh, I'm sorry. Assemblyperson Sumner, do you have conflict?
Yes, I need to announce a conflict. Does it happen before or after she moves it?
You can do it now.
Okay. Yeah, Madam Mayor, I have had my business has had business dealings with Ficklin Construction, so I'd like to ask permission to recuse myself from this one.
Okay, I will. Thank you. Does anybody else on the Assembly have a conflict? Okay, seeing none there. Okay. Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead and make your motion and then talk.
I move AM 26-032 and would like to speak with it, to it, not with it, but to it.
Okay, I'll go ahead and.
I really don't understand this because I was okay with it until we got to the part where it said rebid, and then I looked in supporting documents, 26 it says AM 26032. It doesn't say why we're doing this. I just don't get. I thought I knew how the process worked, and now I don't. He bid. Who bid? Did they get? The first time when it went out for bid, did those guys win?
I think we need to bring, unless you want staff or do you want Mike or both?
Somebody, just whoever can clear it up for me.
Okay.
Through the mayor, I mean, we bid it out. There were 2 bidders. the costs were out of alignment pretty significantly from what we were seeing in the other bids that had gone out during this season.
Okay.
So we rejected the bid and rebid it. It's pretty much that simple. Second time around, I think we had 8 bidders and much different prices.
Okay.
So does that address your concerns, Madam? Okay. Further discussion from the assembly. Deputy Mayor, did you?
I have some questions on performance
Mhm.
on Ficklen's previous, along with the back charges and stuff for snow removal, poor performance in the past. I'd like to ask some questions to staff. How long ago was these poor performances?
Go ahead, sir.
Through the mayor. Ficklin hasn't held a contract with us for a little over a year. So those issues were, I mean, the last reported deficiency that I have, we're over a year past that at this point.
And the gentleman that spoke earlier today about about his roads not getting taken care of, that was part of it?
I'm assuming it is. I don't know exactly, but I'm assuming that it is.
Through the mayor to Mr. Bernier, yes. RSA 19 was part of the problem, which is what Mr. Potter was speaking to.
What does that mean? It was part of the problem. What does that mean?
So through the mayor, I really hate talking about individuals on the record, but here we are. So it's not a surprise. Mr. Ficklin and I met. We had a conversation when these bids were opened about our concerns regarding past performance, specifically, primarily the last year of the contract. Yes, they were part of a claim with with other contractors that was settled, right? So that was settled. That's a thing in the past, and when we settle, it's settled. The issue that I had specifically was that last year performance. And so Mr. Ficklin and I sat down, we had a very candid conversation. What was helpful to me as an administrator is simple. He owned the problem. It has been over a year, and he put that in writing. And so his willingness to come forward, own it, put it in writing, it's over a year. We decided to move forward with the bid award because he was the lowest responsive bidder. There's no question, and I don't think he would even challenge it, that there were performance issues, and probably not just in RSA 19, but that was definitely one of the bigger issues that last year of his contract performance. And then he was essentially, I'll just be blunt, he was put on the sideline and really not allowed to work for the borough. And we could debate how long that we should do that to someone, but it's been over a year, and that's essentially what was communicated to Mr. Ficklin earlier this year was you got to be out of the business a year. Well, it turns out when 27 got rebid, it then fell outside of that year. When it was first put out, he didn't bid on it, probably because it was within the year, and we told him we wouldn't accept a bid from him within a year. And so that was the agreement we made because there's no hard and fast rule on how we do that. We felt that was reasonable. He came in, he owned it, he put it in writing, and we had a conversation about if there are performance issues this fall, what that will look like in terms of moving to find us a contractor that meets the contract specifications. So I don't know if that answers. I don't want to just go on and on about it, but essentially I would say this: he came in and he owned it.
Okay. And
Mayor, we've got 5 mics on the table. If we can start turning mics off, because that's what the feedback is happening. Thank you.
Okay. So Deputy Mayor, do you have follow-up?
yes, please. So in case something happens to where Brian can't perform, what's the scenario?
So through the mayor to Mr. Bernier, it'd be the same as with any road maintenance contract. We would go through a process to try to correct the performance issues. And if it escalated to a point where they weren't able to perform, we would probably walk them to some contract termination. And we would find another contractor to take their place. It's not unprecedented. We don't do it very often because we usually find a resolution in there somewhere that doesn't take us to the point of like terminating a contract in its entirety. But it wouldn't be any different than we would do it in any other RSA or any contract for that matter in the borough.
Is there something on the books when you do, like, you can't contract for 3 years, or you can't, do you have anything written up that way?
No, because he was, through the mayor to Mr. Bernier, he was not debarred or anything formal. There was no formal, I mean, there was poor performance, but it wasn't something that was so egregious that we would seek debarment where he couldn't compete on any contracts. Essentially, the agreement was, you're on the sideline for a year. I think that sent the message, we'll find out if this contract gets awarded.
Senator McKee?
This sounds like a rerun. The last time I was here, when the borough voted down the contract that had been lawfully bid by Mr. Tews. I don't understand why, and that was just a year. And Tews had been 12 years. I may be out of line talking about this, but Jiminy Christmas, it is a rerun. I don't get it.
The attorney wants.
Oh, the attorney. Okay. Mr. Attorney?
There is a vast difference between this body voting and what staff recommends.
That's true.
This body voted no on the recommendation award for Mr. Tu. Staff recommended award. That's a big difference, legally speaking. So when you say staff has done nothing different, whether you decide to vote yes or no is up to you, because nobody can force you how to vote. But staff has done the same thing in both
I
circumstances.
absolutely agree. Staff did everything right. And then, for whatever reason, it didn't go the way one would expect something when everybody's done everything right. And I hate that when that happens in government, because you dot all the i's and cross all the t's and all that thing, and then they say, nope, I get it. It's just wrong.
Okay, Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I guess the only thing I'll say is RSA 19, that's District 1. My understanding is that this was one time. This RSA approved this. The RSA did not approve the TWS contract. That's the reason we discussed that. That was a very different circumstance. That company and the other RSA last meeting had years and multiple incidents. This was 1 year, and this person came forward, sat down, actually came in and talked to the manager. So I think this is different. This is one time, and the RSA board did not reach out to us and tell us not to approve this contract. So that's where I stand on that as District 1.
Deputy Mayor?
This is not different. That was all just politics. Okay, when Dan Mayfield sat over there in Bill's seat, Brian won contract. Mayfield said, hey, I want McKenna Brothers to have the contract, and they rejected Dicklin. Okay, just like last week or a couple weeks here, we don't want two, we want McKenna, and the assemblyman got involved. Instead of honoring the low bid like we should, and I'm not going to play politics, not like that. That's dirty. That's wrong, and you're setting a bad precedence. So.
Okay, further discussion? Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate that. My understanding is this is honoring the low bid. Am I incorrect in that?
Okay.
Through the mayor to the assembly. This follows exactly what we did for RSA 21. We brought you the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. That's what this is. That's what the RSA 21 staff recommendation was.
So follow up. So I understand that last meeting that may have been politics. I spoke my experience when I was with State OSHA, the concerns I had, and I was So I'll own those concerns that I had. This, I'm looking at it from the perspective of this is the low bid, and the RSA, we haven't heard from the RSA at all, positive or negative. So the last meeting, I mean, I guess maybe it was politics. You would know maybe better than me on that one. I don't see anything political here. I think that there was a concerned citizen because of maybe some less than desirable outcomes last year. So I don't see this as this. I mean, politically speaking, as what happened at the last meeting and the kind of how contentious it was. Maybe I'm wrong though.
Further discussion? I understand we probably have an objection, right? Okay, Madam Clerk.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote. Yes, approves the AM. Assemblymember Gamble. Oops, excuse me. Hold on just a second. Assemblymember Bernier. Assemblymember Gamble.
Yes.
Can abstain. Assemblymember Fonoff.
I pushed that because I was going to talk and try to get attention, but I didn't get.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and revote, please. I'm assuming your vote is still yes, Assemblymember Gamble, but I'm double checking.
Yes.
What was the last vote?
I don't know. I did not record it because we had somebody abstain. Madam Mayor, it has tied with Assemblymember Fonoff, McKee, and Bernier opposed, and Assemblymember Bowles, Nowers, and Gamble. Thank you, Brenda. In support.
Okay, I'm going to vote in favor of awarding 26-032.
Okay. And then it passes with the mayor. Yes, you can go get.
Did somebody go ahead and get?
Brenda was heading out to get her.
Oh, somebody over there. Okay, oh, Brenda is. Okay,
Yep.
great, thank you.
We are now at introductions. If you would like me to read them, Madam
Yeah,
Mayor.
well, we have no
Oh,
let's see,
sorry.
That's okay, because we pulled the unfinished business, right? So,
Correct. Unfinished
Yeah.
business was taken off.
yeah.
Introduction for
And-
public hearing on April 21st is ordinance 26037 with accompanying resolution 26023. Ordinance 26038 with accompanying resolution 2624. Ordinance 2640 with accompanying resolution 2626. Ordinance 2642 with accompanying resolution 2629. Ordinance 2643, Ordinance 2644, Ordinance 2645, Ordinance 2646, and for public hearing on May 19th, Ordinance 26041.
Okay, Deputy Mayor?
Did I miss? Did they read this one?
I move to introduce the legislation as read into the record by the clerk and set the public hearing for April 21st, 2026 and May 19th, 2026 respectively.
Okay. Discussion by the Assembly. Yes, Assemblyperson Pownell.
I'd like to divide the question and divide the 26045.
Okay. So you have a motion to divide the question, and you want to consider ordinance 26-045 separately.
That is correct.
Am I interpreting that correctly? Okay, so the discussion now is there objection to dividing the question? Okay, there is. There is, so discussion by the Assembly then on dividing the question. Okay, so yes, Assemblyperson Bowles, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just curious, just out of curiosity, what your thoughts are on that.
that's why I want to discuss it after we divide it, so we could take that separately. That's kind of how we
Madam
do
Mayor?
it consent.
Okay.
I just want to be very clear, you cannot start debating and giving your opinions on the legislation. You either need to introduce it or you don't. There's no main motion on the floor and no public hearing's been held.
Okay, well, we have a motion to pull,
Correct.
divide the question. Correct. Yeah. Is there objection to dividing the question? Okay, we do have objection to dividing the question, madam.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote on dividing the question. It's not voting? Oh, sorry, did it go? That was me. That was me. I just fixed it real quick. Sorry about that. Had to lock you out of the last one. Assemblymember Gamble.
No.
Madam Mayor, it's passed with Assemblymember Nowers and Gamble opposed.
Okay. So now we need to take that one up separately now.
No, what you'll take first is the introductions of all the other pieces without ordinance 26045.
Okay, because it seemed like before with the AM.
We didn't.
We took it,
We didn't.
we took it, yeah, we
We
took
took
it
it
first.
second. I can show you my notes.
Okay. All right, so, Deputy Mayor, if you want to go ahead and, I think you did.
He already
read
moved
in.
it. We don't need to
Yeah.
move it again. Both of them
Yeah.
have been moved for introduction.
Okay. So is there any objection to the introduction of the other ones? No, I don't see any. Okay. So the other legislation has been introduced. So now we will, and it was pulled by Assemblyperson Fano, so if he wants to discuss it.
Yeah, we've had a lot of back and forth on this and several times, and then we finally came to a decision to discuss this in July, and this is a very similar written changes. We are off into the start now of what we already previously adopted, and making changes and putting people in uncertainty in the middle of this process. I think it is not the best way for us to go. So I would like you to consider to move this one to, my proposition is to make it to a public hearing at end of June or July, so that at that time we will have a report from the staff on how our program went, what we achieved, how many trips been taking, and what the impact was, and then make a sound decision. Because if we do it now in the middle of thing, I don't think it's very wise when people already are utilizing the program. That's all I'm asking. So my proposition is to amend the date for the public hearing. What is the last meeting in June? If you can get, because this calendar only goes to May 19th.
That would be June 16th.
Would, I guess that work for Mr. Sumner and Bowles, if that's okay with you?
Okay, so now
That's
we
my
have
proposition for that date.
Okay, so we have the amendment, right, that we need to, that's the discussion now, is the amendment on moving the public hearing to June 16th. So
Correct.
that's the discussion we need to have at this time. Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I appreciate that. I understand, moving it to the same date. My biggest concern with this is I have had a lot of people in District 1 reach out with concerns of if there is road damage with this new permit, who pays for it? And in the bill that Assemblyman Sumner is moving forward, it identifies that. So in my opinion, the sooner we can get that in code, that would benefit the borough, because that would take the onus from the borough and place it on the contractor if they cause damage while they have their permit in place to drive on the roads during weight restrictions. So I would say that I'm not in favor of this amendment.
Okay, further discussion on the amendment. Assemblyperson Nowers.
I would say for the same reasons that, if we don't do this now, the damage will be done and there will be no way to fix it without a lot of expense to the taxpayer. And I know I've had a lot of folks reach out to me, including, the vice president of Linden, other people who drive heavy trucks, and they have told me this is a horrible idea, that they personally have seen the damage it can do to roads to have heavy loads. We've got a lot of testimony to that effect. We have studies saying that half of the damage to a road's life can be done during breakup when they're weak. And so I know the weight restrictions are coming into place, I think, next week. So I would also oppose delaying this. I think we got enough on the record of what damage can happen that we need to debate this.
Can I have you just talk about the amendment?
That's
which
why
is
I'm
changing the date.
I'm opposing the change of the date because I think we need to get at this now.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other assembly comments? Okay, so there is an objection, right? Or what do you have? Okay, so, Assemblyperson Fana.
I guess my only request is that if we were to hear it and make that as it was proposed, it defeats the purpose. We will not have data for the June or July, and it kind of defeats and it just leaves the pattern same as it always been with the midnight run. So that's why I'm asking you to look into it after it's one season went through. The amount of equipment that's going to get moved it's not going to change this year. That's the reality of it. It's just we're going to capture revenue and we're going to have a lot of data, and then we can be able to see if we want to continue with it or do we make it so there is a pretty much shut it down. So that's why I'm asking you to consider that date.
Okay, so I think, are we ready to vote? Assemblyperson Nowers?
Just quickly to respond to that, I think there's a lot of data that you can do damage to the roads, and there's nothing in the ordinance that passed that holds the person doing the damage accountable. So that's a big risk to take to the taxpayer who's going to have to pick up the damage. So again, opposing moving this until after the damage is done. Let's get ahead of this.
Okay, so there is objection, Madam Clerk.
Can I get the members in the room to vote on changing the public hearing on this ordinance to June 16th? Assemblymember Gamble.
No.
Madam Mayor, it failed with Assemblymember Fanoff in support. We are back to introducing it for 421.
Okay, so now before you is ordinance 26-045 for introduction tonight and setting for public hearing in, 2 weeks? 421. Discussion? Is there objection? Okay, we have objection. So,
If I can get the members in the room to vote on the public hearing date of 421. Assemblymember Sumner and Assemblymember Bernier. We're voting on the public hearing date of 421. Assemblymember Gamble.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, it is passed with Assemblymember Fanoff and McKee opposed.
okay. So let's see, I think we're down now to the vacancy report, is that correct? Deputy Mayor? Right. Okay, Deputy Mayor, vacancy report, please.
I move to confirm the mayor's recommendations as follows. Matt Suburo, Fish and Wildlife Commission. Terry Gorlick.
Okay. Discussion? Opposition? Okay, seeing and hearing none, and the vacancy report has been approved. We have no other new business. We have no referrals. Let's see, the reconsideration was pulled, right? And so now we're to comments. So, Mr. Attorney, comments? No? Assemblyperson McKee, parting comments?
I think I've lost my mind. I have nothing to say.
Assemblyperson Sumner, parting comments?
I have no comments tonight. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor, parting comments?
Thank you, Lord. Please bless the Matsu Valley. Help us with our decisions on schools, our roads, our people, Lord. Let's bring them all closer to you, Lord. Help us. We thank you for your forgiveness, your mercy, your grace, Lord. Please protect our first responders, our veterans, our loved ones, the people that are down and out. Give them hope. Give them faith, Lord. We ask for courage and strength. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.
Assemblyperson Nowers, parting comments?
Thank you. I do have some comments on schools, but first I just want to take up we do have a lot of evidence that we can do a lot of damage to our roads, and we're going to take this issue up on April 21st, but the exemptions are going to go in place next week. So I'm going to make a motion that we pause any permits, ask the manager to pause any permits issuing until we can take this issue up on April 21st in terms of road weight exemption measures.
Mr. Manager, parting comments?
I object to that manager direction.
We can make that motion.
Or I just asked to direct the manager, I'm sorry, to pause permits until we can take this issue up on the 21st.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm asking on the road weight exemption
Right.
issue that we ask the manager to pause issuing any permits until April 21st, when we take up the issue of the permit process.
Madam Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to ask law if, because this is in code, if we can give that direction to if it's a motion that can be made
Yes.
without, okay.
Yes, it can.
Sorry, Assemblymember Nauer.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor then to suspend permitting until after the 21st of April. Is that good interpretation? Okay. Okay, discussion on that. Assemblyperson Plano.
Again, I'm going to object to that. I think we voted, we put in the system. I clicked through the system today just to see how the process is made. I think it's very well prepared, a lot of staff, and people have made plans to utilize this. I've been advocating very heavily for people to utilize versus doing the old way of business. That way we can have a lot more information and capture revenue out of this. So I think it is just an unreasonable attempt to, after something that is passed, just to start directing managers to go against our code. That's all.
Okay, further discussion. Assemblyperson Sumner.
Yeah, this is already in place. I heard the first permit was issued today. I think that it's a very valid argument that there could be damage to the road, which is the exact intent of Mr. Farnoff's ordinance, is to diminish the damages to the roads. Because, the old way, we know, guys that are in the construction industry know that these people are out there moving equipment, weekends and evenings, and it's happening either way. The intent of this with the fine and the permit was to get some data and know where it's happening and disincentivize the guys that are doing, I've watched roads unravel when dump trucks are running over the roads, 12-yard loads during weight restrictions. I've seen it. And that's what we need to stop. The one guy moving his equipment in the morning or in the evening, we need to figure out where it's happening and so we can, anyway, I'm just saying that this is, I think shutting it down, the permit system right now when it just started would be folly. Yeah.
Further discussion on the motion. Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm in agreement with Assemblyman Fawnoff and Assemblyman Sumner. My perspective is this, is we voted on this. And then shortly thereafter, we identified that it wasn't perfect, and we're doing what we need to do as a legislative body to correct those issues. But we do not want to impede economic development. There's things in place with the previous ordinance. There's going to be things in place with the next ordinance. I don't want to get in the way of people making money and feeding their families, though. I can't say that there won't be damage in 2 weeks. There very well could be, but I think we need to stick with what we've done. We've created a pathway to compliance, and we identified some things that we need to address. We're going to be addressing those things, but stop, start is not good for our fellow residents that are really depending on this to move forward with economic development. So I'm going to be in support of Assemblyman Vaughnoff on this.
Okay, further discussion, Assemblyperson Nowers?
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Oh,
Yes, go ahead, Assemblyperson Gamble.
Yes, Mr. Manager, could you explain to me again how we are going to monitor damage during this period while we're permitting these trucks? Is there going to be somebody out there that's following these trucks around, or that is going to, be out there while the trucks are on the road monitoring the roads for damage from this?
So through the mayor to Mr. Gamble, we're going to make our best effort. I think everyone realizes we have 4 road maintenance superintendents to cover the entire borough. Also, the permit only includes the starting and ending point, so we won't know the exact route, although you can probably infer what folks are probably going to do, and we're going to make our best effort to get out there and check it out. I've talked to O&M about it. I've talked to Public Works. But we have no data for how many folks will submit permits. And, obviously it could move quickly. So we're going to do our best to go out there, take a look at it pre and post. But I don't think I can sit here and guarantee anything without having any data to tell us like what to expect. And so we'll make our best efforts. Plus, we don't run 24/7 shifts on road maintenance like that. So if folks are doing early mornings and late afternoons or late evenings, that's going to be difficult to cover. So I think that's the best response I can give you, given that we have no historical data.
Okay, so follow-up question, Madam Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
So what do we do if we find vehicles out there that don't have permits? I mean, how do we enforce the fine, the ordinance?
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Gamble, we'll do our best. I mean, we don't have scales. We don't have personnel dedicated to this task. And so, we have this come up every year in terms of folks running trucks during weight restrictions. If we see it, we'll try to address it, but I don't see that being much different than the way that's been in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Assemblyperson McKee, you want to comment?
Yeah, I heard a piece of information today about this, and that was that on these indivisible pieces of equipment, that'd be something like where you would go in and it's not an emergency, but you're going in to clear a site or something like that. That doesn't mean you're going to drive your big 400,000 pound, whatever, dozer out there and then take it home in the afternoon, then bring it back. You're not going to do that. You take it, you leave it. So to me, this is a good idea. People who understand that we know that they need to make a living, but that they're going to do it legally, this gives them that option to make that application and be in the clear and still make a little money for the fam. That weighed heavily on me when we're talking about emergency only, but that's 2 months. What's an emergency is when the rent comes due every month, but you can't work. So at least trying to put something in place to make people understand the importance of this and reward the right decision.
Assemblyperson Nowers.
Normally, I'd be in complete agreement with, we pass something and this is the rules, and, not impeding economic development. But I have a problem when your business model includes me subsidizing you. So for $100, we're giving you a permit that says, okay, go ahead and drive, overload. We know it's going to be harmful to the road. We know the studies tell us that. And the taxpayer, the RSA, is going to pick up the bill for it. So I can't support allowing that kind of damage to happen. And I know we have legislation coming forward on April 21st that we're going to debate, and been trying to get that on the agenda for weeks now ahead of this. But I think we need to, for that reason, for the fact that the taxpayer could be on the hook for a lot of damage, we need to put a pause until we can take it up on the 21st at this point.
Okay, Assemblyperson Fana.
Ms. Nowers, I'll ask you a direct question. Do you have a garbage service that you get picked up by your road? That's just simply yes or no.
I do not.
Do any of your neighbors do?
Some of my neighbors do.
Okay, so if at least one person has a container on the road, that truck, and there's several companies, they'll make at least a two-way, they have to drive twice. One's for the right-hand side, the other one's for the left-hand side. And if it's two companies, that's 4 trips in a week after. I don't see you advocating, if you're really serious about protecting the road, let's stop the pump trucks, let's stop the garbage truck. As a matter of fact, they can take half of the load or even third to get that. But some reason you're not advocating for that. But on the flip side, when you have an option of not a vehicle that it cannot be split into a half, you're automatically against that. I think it's personally really targeted against certain industry, and I think that's something I want you to consider. If you're going to be all in it, let's really go all in it. But if not, why select only people that are don't have another option? Is it there's alternative modes? I don't know. But I want you guys to know that what we're doing with this program, it's very narrow to a specific. There's a well drillers that are not exempt, but they provide the well. And the people who develop the lots and build new homes in order so we have more tax revenue. So we're hindering specific couple of categories. So that's something to consider.
Briefly.
No, the more we talk about this, the more I'm wondering how many people on the assembly have a conflict of interest. A serious question, guys. How many of you have a conflict of interest? That this legislation is for a very select few people, and that. So anyway, I think that's something we need to talk about. I see some heads shaping in the audience. It's not something that we've talked about, right? I mean, it's not like approving taxes where it goes to absolutely everybody. So anyway, I think, yeah.
I just wanted to respond that what I am advocating against is for $100, you get to take thousands of dollars out of my pocket and the other taxpayers. And I'm advocating against allowing this to go forward until we have the opportunity to debate it on April 21st. And I would like to know if anybody on this assembly is planning to apply for a permit, because that I think would be a conflict of interest. So I guess you asked me a direct question, I'll ask you and the other assembly members direct question. Is anybody on this assembly planning to apply for one of these permits?
Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
Yeah, ask a direct question about conflicts. I'll answer that. I think I've probably recused myself or announced conflicts more than everyone else in the assembly combined. And I did not announce or ask for recusal on this one because I've read the code and I very clearly do not have a conflict on this. But whatever. And as far as applying for the permit, no, I do not intend on applying for the permit because though I do have heavy equipment, I have very large trailers and I have small equipment and I can move equipment under 50% axle limits. I also can get a lowboy to move my heavy equipment. So I don't see a need to apply for the permit, personally.
Thank you. Okay. Further discussion? Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
The heaviest thing I have is a 1-ton box van.
Technically speaking, if you were to load that box van up, then you would be over 50%.
Assembly person hours?
I just don't mind asking that question down the line. I think it's fair to ask to clear the air on that. If anybody else on this assembly, if they are planning to apply for the permit, I think they should declare that.
Okay. Assembly person McKee?
This is kind of confusing to me because we're saying if we do have people that are going to apply for it, these are the honest guys who are going to go out and apply for it. That's a good thing. Why would we object to that? When you say taking $100 or money out of the taxpayers' pockets for people doing damage to the road, well, we could just put our head in the sand and ignore the whole thing or can keep on doing what they've done forever. At least we're making an effort to say we know we can't recoup the damages with $100 and $1,000 fine. We know we can't do that, but we could start something going. And Alaska's a place where you can't work 12 months out of the year anyway if you're working outside. So mitigate the damages by making these people toe the line, follow the law.
Assembly person Sumner and then.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that Assembly Member Nowers' question about is anyone on the Assembly going to apply for the permit is a straw man or, there's an implication of malfeasance when I'm sure she is aware of the borough code for conflicts. So she knows that even if someone were applying for a permit, that would not make them necessarily have a conflict of interest in this instance.
Okay, Assembly person Bowles, did you have, no? I'm sorry.
Madam Mayor, I was
thought
just going to answer your
initials
question, no
were there.
conflict. That's all.
Okay, all right, okay. Further discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a motion on the floor.
If I can get the members to go ahead and vote on the motion to pause permits until after the April 21st meeting. Assemblymember Gamble,
No.
Madam Mayor, it failed. Assemblymember Nowers in support.
Okay. Right, yeah.
I just want to finish my comments on schools.
Sure,
Because
yeah.
we do have the committee coming up on Monday, and I just wanted to acknowledge the comments again from the folks who came to testify to us about how important their schools are. If it's up to me, I'd like to be able to see these schools stay open for a year to give the community time to figure out the best solution. I feel like this has been a really rushed process in terms of how it's come about. So this is a little bit, it'll take a second, so bear with me, but there's a few things that I think need to be addressed though if we're going to keep the schools open. In looking at a lot of data and talking to folks, there's some trends that are key for, I think, the folks who want to keep those schools open to consider. The enrollment in this district has been flat over the last 10 years, even as we've added 10,000 plus residents. About 4,000 children living in the Mat-Su are attending correspondence school outside Mat-Su. None of those funds are coming to the Mat-Su school district. And if they were in brick and mortar schools, that would be, I think it's about 12,000 a student. That's $40+ million that become to this district. So those parents are choosing that choice for a reason. Can the school district do something to lure them back and have some additional funding for the district? It's a reality that our schools, a lot of them are below capacity. Looking at the data, 14 schools are between 50 and 70%. 6+ are at 50% or less. Some of those are very small, so I kind of take them off the list. 7 of our schools, our brick and mortar, are over 100%. So we need to figure out how to use that space efficiently, and if we can attract students back, we will. That could be one solution. At the end of the day, and this is what I asked the budget committee to look at, is where are we at on the school district's request. I know they're saving some funding on the school buses. They have the nurse funding. What would it take to keep the schools open for this year? And what would it take to have a process in place for analyzing those school closures in a way that the community can participate in? Because I, along with the rest of the community, learned about school closures February 23rd. That's a really late notice for something, for trends that have been building for a long time, and doesn't give any of us time to react to it. And then the third thing I would ask of the joint committee is to really look at the school, and I know you already are, but really look at the school district budget. The numbers that they gave us showed they were 8 million over budget for this year, including like 5 million in supplies. And so that's just a question I would ask that be asked there. And is there sort of any wiggle room in the budget, and understanding why they went over budget? So those are the three things. Where are we at in terms of the request? Could we have a school closure process if we can find funding to keep the schools open? And what was the reason for the cost overruns this year? Thank you.
Parting comments, sir? Parting comments, ma'am? Parting comments, Assembly Bowles?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yep, so if there's any District 1 people still listening in, I just would like invite you to read Ordinance 26-045 if you haven't already. Quite a few District 1 residents have reached out with concerns on the weight restrictions. And we've listened. We are going to address those in 2 weeks. They're valid concerns. And so I think that, I think we have a good solution here moving forward. So that is being addressed. We're not pushing this aside. We're not pushing this off. You have been heard, and we are listening, and we're working for you. So, and with that, as always, I really appreciate everybody. I appreciate the discussion, and I appreciate my fellow residents in District 1. It's a privilege to serve you, and I appreciate you for putting me in the seat. Thank you.
Assemblyperson Gamble, parting comments, sir?
We heard you beep. You might want to hit *2 again, Assemblymember Gamble.
I have no comments tonight. Thank you.
Assemblyperson Fauna, parting comments, sir?
Thank you for opportunity to speak. This is a great privilege that I have. Unlike some other people, I'm actually, today I'm wearing an American flag. That's the only flag that I own, and that's the only one that I wear. I don't have a flag of any other countries, and I don't have allegiance to other country. This country has given me, my family, and many people an opportunity of a lifetime that most people wish to have around the world. I wasn't planning to speak on it, but because how this thing turned out, I'm gonna touch a little bit on that. Over 30 years ago, my family immigrated into this country, specifically to Wasilla, Alaska, without knowing any English, without not having any money, but with a dream and with opportunity. And it's very difficult when you don't know the language. Believe me, there wasn't digital interpretation services. There's some teachers that probably have students from a foreign country that is, they understand how it is. At least we have some technology and maybe kids in the classes that could help to interpret. I didn't have that, but we really loved it. We came here during the Christmas, and it felt freedom in Alaska in the middle of December. So I'm very thankful for that. And one of the things I think it's important that we, as good citizens, we follow the law, and the law should be equal to everyone. So whether I'm going to use this permit or not, I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to say whether yes or no, because I'm not going to go on the record and lie about something. But if the law is out there and it provides me the ability to feed my family, just like it does to the rest of the Matsu borough, that is the law to be utilized by anyone, not just for selected few. And I don't think there is any reason for us to have to select people that are not allowed to participate in certain discussion. If we have a building, we pass something, any ordinance with the building requirements or lot or whatever, does that mean now we can't go and build a house? That argument is, I think, is very silly. That's why we have permits and regulations for a reason. So I'm going to again take this opportunity to thank God for this country, that it allows us to do the right thing, to petition, to go to run for office, and make changes in this in the local environment that will hopefully impact people in a good way. And we do it to best of our ability. We won't always agree, but I believe each of us doing it sincerely, and I do that with the same intent as you do. We're just on the opposite side of the aisle, but I am thankful to be able to be here to provide for this family and continue to serve this assembly.
Okay, and I will adjourn. I'll see you all on Thursday morning. I will adjourn at 9:54.
The conference has ended. You will now be disconnected. Goodbye.